say that.
You play to win the game.
Hello? My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Big day. Coach Middleton,
yes,
what an unbelievable effort.
Yes,
Your
it was.
inspiration at halftime, they got it there, man.
Well, I appreciate your effort, man. Hell of a job. You should be proud of yourself.
I'm so proud of everybody. I mean, it's been a hell of a year watching this damn game, but whatever it freaking takes, offense, I freaking love the way y'all ran the ball today, man. That was freaking awesome. How about Braxton?
Whatever it freaking takes, Robert Saleh says. For a minute there, I thought it was going to be the true head coach of the New York Jets, Ron Middleton, but then we saw the love for Robert Saleh immediately following, which warmed my heart. I must say, welcome to the Thursday Thick of It for this week. I am GreenBean. I am happy you're here. I can't wait to get into tonight's show. We have so much good stuff that I don't even think we're going to fit it. That's what I think. I think we're going to run out of room. That's what I think. But to get that started, let's get the best looking dude in our crew on this screen immediately. Let's say hello to the co-host, Frankie from Flatbush. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hello and happy new year. It's time to gripe intelligently, my favorite time of the week, because all the other 6 days of the week I'm griping stupidly. And then Thursday comes around and I get to gripe intelligently. So happy new year, everyone. And hello, everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying Happy New Year, because I traditionally and consistently forget to say things like Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. I don't realize it even is those days until somebody says to me, hey, Happy New Year, Happy birthday. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't know what it is, Frankie. I'm kind of, I have a major lapse in what reality looks like. So thank you and Happy New Year to you. How's it going so far? Everything starting off with a bang for you?
I think 2022 is going to be so much better than 2021. I'm looking forward to so many things. I'm looking forward to the Senior Bowl. I'm looking forward to people declaring for the draft. I'm looking forward to the freaking for the draft itself. And what about the free agents and what's going to go on with the coaches and the quarterback carousel? What's going to happen in the playoffs? Man, there's just so much to look forward to.
There really is. There's so much to look forward to, man. And look, it's sad to say it, Frankie, but let's just be who we are, right? Let's just be who we are as Jets fans. Let's wrap our arms around our reality, which is don't you love a good offseason being a Jets fan? Isn't it good? It almost feels like week one, doesn't it? It's like, oh, one more week of this bullshit and then we can get to it. Yeah.
I mean, we had 2 wins last year. That was not a lot of wins compared to how many games we played. Right. And so now this year we have 4 wins, and we have Zach Wilson, and we have Elijah Vera Tucker, and we have Elijah Moore, and we have Michael Carter, and we have all these things, and we have Coach Saleh and the coaching staff. So it's only looking up. And as Jets fans, I think it's our time to be smiling, because there's going to be lots of mock drafts. There's going to be lots of speculation. Should we draft Kyle Hamilton? Should we not draft Kyle Hamilton? I was just watching a video where O'Leary's saying, no, we shouldn't draft Hamilton at all. We don't need him. And there's going to be all sorts of fun videos coming out. Yes, we should. No, we shouldn't. Karlaftis is better than Thibodeau and this and that. And it's just endless fun.
Well, it's good. Right. And that's the perfect way to say it. Perfect way to say it. It's endless fun. And if we look at it that way, by the end of, like the last 2 weeks before the draft, I get inundated with comments that say, I can't wait for the draft so this bullshit can stop already. Like, when will you guys stop? And I'm like, what? I don't want it to stop.
Well,
It
plus
never stopped.
It's never stopped. After the draft is over, then you have the undrafted free agents. And you remember last year we picked up Kenny Yeboah as an undrafted free. I mean, how awesome was that moment when we signed Kenny Yeboah?
Totally.
And after all the speculation, all the time you were talking about him, and then the Jets signed him. I mean, how cool was that? And then you have other things. Should we get Richard Sherman? Should we get Steven Nelson? I mean, it never ends. It's endless fun. So it's all good.
It really is, man. And I really do feel that way. I'm going to make a big announcement soon about when the Monday night 10 o'clock mocks will start. I can't wait to do that again. I've been fighting the urge, Frankie. I mean, every week I'm like, I'm starting it. Like every Monday would come around and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Impromptu. But I've been fighting the urge specifically for those Grumpkins that don't want it, that get tired of it and everything. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait till at least the end of the season before I start mocking. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait too much longer, man. I am dying to get into a good, chewy mock draft. Not like just a quickie, but a nice 2-hour mock. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I like. So I'll be letting everybody know what that looks like. I want to say hello to some people in the chat before we really get going. Bismo Charismo beat all of you in here from way down in Australia. He says, what's up? Get better. Wait, let's go. GreenBean and BG, get better. I think, are we sick? I don't know if we were sick, but thank you, Bismo.
Maybe he just wants you to be a better human being.
Right, get better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Jack Oliveri's here. Eric Craig is here. We got Jets Forever, David Goodstein. It's so good to see you guys. Mo Lake, Stud City, Friggle D, Adam S, Paul Klein, FOC's back. I'm going to scroll down. Big Green is here. MC is back. What's up, Sports MC? Good to see you, buddy. Christopher Moran, Salty Nuts is here. I'm waiting to see. I created a new name, a new moniker, like Salty Nuts Magoo. His name is John Nolte. Now, it didn't go from John Nolte to Salty Nuts Magoo overnight. This was a living, breathing process, So there's another one. When JW comes in here, he's earned it, man. He's got a new one. I'll let you know if he comes in, what it looks like. But thanks for everybody for being here. Wat2K is in the background with Jeremy Cravat, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. You guys know them. Tonight we have a special guest arriving at 9 p.m., and that is Boy Green Paul Esden will wrap up the last hour with us. We have tons of stuff to talk to him about. He was out front, combating the personal attacks towards Zach Wilson. So I can't wait to get in to some of that with him. But chat, I want to let you know this is going to be your chance to reach out to Boy Green, Paul Esden. When he's here, just ask away with your questions and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. But here's how we're going to start. I didn't tell Frankie this, but I received a comment and he basically said, all right, listen to me. Humor me here. Don't turn me off. I got a lot to say. I want you to hear me out. And I want you to think about it. So this is what he said, Frankie, and I want to get your thoughts, and I want to bounce this to the chat as well. So guys, listen up. This is going to be outside of anything that any of you were considering. Now, the sad part is I lost the message somewhere. I don't know where the hell it is. I'm trying to look for it. So I can't tell you who it is, which might be for the best for all we know. I don't know. But so anyway, I'll try to get his name so I can give him some credit and stuff. But this came to me today. So Frankie, here's what he said. We have 2 first-round picks. Let's say it's 4 and 7, right? So he said Seattle, if they do in fact trade Russell Wilson and they go into full blow it up mode, they're just tear down rebuild. If they really do that and they come calling, and they say, we really want our first round pick back, your second first round pick. We are willing to give you DK Metcalf and Jamal Adams back. We'll give you Jamal Adams plus DK Metcalf for that singular first round draft pick, which would effectively take away 2 needs. We would get a safety. I mean, we have our problems with Jamal Adams, but in this defense, he would just be sent to the quarterback all day, which he could succeed in. But then you get DK Metcalf, which takes care of the wide receiver piece. A lot of Jets fans are going back and forth on whether the Jets should take a wide receiver with one of their first round picks. Weapons for Zach Wilson. DK Metcalf, as we know, super strong, great blocker, super fast, great hands, the whole thing. So, Frankie, what would you say if they said, you give us one first round pick, we will give you two essentially first round players? And then there was something he said about absorbing some of the money and something like that too, which is definitely going to factor in. So what do you think to that request right there, Frankie? And then I want to look over at the chat and see what you guys think.
There's no way in hell I would make that deal. There's no
way
in hell, because that's the type of deal you make if you're right on the cusp of a Super Bowl and you need a wide receiver and you need a, whatever you want to call Jamal Adams. I call him a linebacker, but that's the type of deal you make if you're right on the cusp. You need two players. You need the certainty of quality that you get with an Adams and a Metcalf, and you have the room under your cap, and you make that deal. And now you have your team and you go for the Super Bowl. That's a win now deal. We're not in that position at all. That's not where we are. So to take on two very expensive players for no real reason when we're still in rebuild mode, we're going to be in year 2 of our rebuild next year. Why are we going to take up so much of our cap space with guys who are not going to really be around when we're ready to win? Not to mention the headache of Jamal Adams in his mouth and New York media. We got rid of that guy for a reason. Well, one reason being they gave us a great deal, but another one is we don't want him in our locker room in any capacity. So that is a no. There's no way that we would even consider that deal. It just makes no sense for where we are on the spectrum of development. Like there's zero reason to make that deal.
Interesting. Now I'm trying to look at the chat to see who agrees with you, who doesn't. I'm going to tell you, so far, I'm about 15 chat messages in. It seems like they might agree with you. They're using words like, no, absolutely not, get out of here, screw yourself, things like that. Hell no. No way would they. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not asking if the Jets would do it. I was asking if you would do it. But you conveyed the point. And I think one of the key things you said there was, we don't want Jamal back. It's Jamal that is the problem. Sure, one pick takes care of two, quote, needs, but I don't think it would I might look at it for about a minute and go, and then as soon as I got to the Jamal piece, I would say absolutely not. So is there a player that you would dude, it's funny. I have not found one person, not one Frankie.
I mean, you want to talk to me about Bobby Wagner? I'll think about it a little bit. You want to talk to me about Fred Warner from the 49ers? I'll think about it. You want to talk to me about a Khalil Mack or somebody? Okay, but not for those two and not at those prices. And no.
Yeah. The most expensive safety in the entire NFL, coming off his worst season in the NFL.
And surgery, and he's had an injury now as well. That's right. So, I mean, there's just zero reason to do that. That's a terrible idea. I don't know what this guy's thinking.
I know. That was my first thought, but I said, okay. My first thought, I almost replied before I read the whole thing. You know what I mean? I was like, I started replying, but then I read it. But like I said, I just read that before I came on. I said, let me bounce this to Frankie and the crew to see what they think. I am also in staunch disagreement with that idea. Now, I think that comes from a lot of Jets fans still kind of, and I think I understand to a degree. They wanted so badly for Adams to be what Mike McCagnon wanted Adams to be, which is that culture-changing, franchise-altering player, passionate Ray Lewis screaming, but he's not that. Jamal Adams is very much a fraud. Ray Lewis was really that. Jamal Adams is trying to be something. He's trying to be a character and everything like that. So, but let me ask you, is there a player that if somebody came offering, non-quarterback, of course, is there a player that you would give up that first round pick? And then we're going to dovetail this with Calvin Ridley in a moment. So prep yourself. But is there a player?
Well, I mean, it would have to be a guy who's a cover linebacker. You know, if Fred Warner comes to mind, but Fred Warner's getting a little old and Fred Warner's a little expensive. So that type of guy, you'd have to find the right type of guy that would fit into our needs. We already have a CJ Mosley. So, for example, I would think about Bobby Wagner, but I probably would say no because we already have CJ Mosley, and Bobby Wagner's a better CJ Mosley, a little bit better CJ Mosley. So why would we double down on CJ? We need people who can cover people. We also need to cover safety very badly. That's what we're trying to do with Jason Pinnock, and maybe that'll work out. Who knows? But
I don't think so. I don't think that's real.
Yeah, maybe not, but that's what they're trying anyway. And it was just like, hey, good try, good effort. And it probably won't work out, but maybe he becomes a backup or something, and then that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But then so I would have to think about a top, but nobody gives up those people. Like people don't give up Fred Warner. People don't give up Bobby Wagner. They don't give these people up. They don't give up Khalil Mack. They don't give up Robert Quinn. Like Robert Quinn. You want to come at me with Robert Quinn? Okay, we could talk. Let's start talking. You want to come at me with Nick Bosa? I mean, okay, my ears are open, but I can get a Nick Bosa maybe with Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson looks pretty much like Nick Bosa, so maybe I could just draft him. Why do I have to deal with Nick Bosa's contract? So it's tough because we're trying to rebuild, and if you trade for one of these guys who's established, they're probably going to be a high salary. That eats up our cap, and at this point, we don't want to do that. We have a lot of needs. We need lots of dudes. And that's why you say we build through the draft, because those are cheap contracts relatively.
Yeah. Well, and that's the benefit. I mean, like the truth is while Zach Wilson is on his rookie contract, now that we have a quarterback, he has his first year in the system. He has gone through hopefully most of those really boneheaded, sloppy kid mistakes. And it looks like he's coming out the other end. This is the time to spend a little bit of money in free agency. This is when, you would actually lock somebody in for the remainder of that contract, 3-year contracts, 4-year contracts, those types of things, in addition to the draft picks, because you want to maximize this window and do everything that you can to give Zach Wilson's rookie contract period a chance to succeed. I actually fully expect Joe Douglas to be a little bit more of a spender in free agency, when the last 2 years there was really no reason to be. I saw, and as we all saw, like so many Jets fans wanted like my free agent list: Galladay, Thuney, Lindsley, and it's like those are the 3 top free. Like we're not doing that. There's no way. Now I hoped we might get one of the 2 linemen last year and all that, but it wasn't really what we're doing. And you can see the 1-year contracts and the wisdom behind them is that if they work out, great. If not, they're gone. They count towards the comp pick formula, if that matters at any given point, but they're cut loose while we're bringing guys in through the draft, which is the way he wants to do it. And when a guy like Jared Davis doesn't work out, guess what? He's not here another year on $8 million guaranteed. You know what I'm saying, Frankie?
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the type of player it is. So I think Joe Douglas is going to look for young free agents. So we think about a Jesse Bates type, or a Justin Reed type, or a Jewel from the Broncos, the linebacker. Those are the type of guys he might want to lock in for a 3-year deal, fairly cheap, but guys that are going to develop. They're kind of young. They have talent. They're not top of the, top guys in the market. They're not top of the market. They may be mid-market or bottom market, but we see something in them that we can use in particular for our team. So that's the type of guy I think he's going to go after, because it's not going to break the bank. You can get value for your money and probably have, a voidable year, a 3-year deal where the 3rd year is voidable, that type of thing. And that's the type of guys that we tend to target. And that's what I would think we would do. And depending on how many of those guys want to come over here, that's going to help us figure out what to do with the draft. If Jesse Bates comes here and they like Jason Pinnock and Elijah Riley, then maybe we don't need a Hamilton. Although I still think we do need Hamilton, but because those guys are just not that quality. But that's
Hamilton's rare. I don't think people realize how rare he is.
Yeah, he's perhaps the most rare person who's come out of the draft in the last 10 to 20 years. And so it's not just that he's a safety. He could turn out to be the best safety of all time.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we don't know, of course. When we talk like this, we're talking about their prospect potential, like what their what their potential is coming into the league. Guys have tons of potential, and they literally just can't handle the NFL for one reason or another. They can't handle the market. They can't handle the money, whatever it might be. There's all kinds of reasons for guys to fail, but Hamilton is really an intriguing player because, a lot of the arguments I get into, I'm in one right now on Twitter, like all day long, and they can't get off the point that you don't take a safety in the first round. Like you don't do that. It's just, it's not a position of important, a premium position and all. And look, and I understand all that, but you can't lock yourself into a firm resolution on, without seeing the details of any given situation. You have to look at what's really there. You can't have just a locked in perspective on something. And while I do agree that safeties, generally I would probably shy away from safeties in the first round. When you have someone that's elite potential, like maybe the best player in the entire draft, because they're a safety, you don't shy away from him just because, well, they're a safety, I'm not taking them. And especially if let's say we pick fourth and Thibodeau, Hutchinson, and let's just say for shits and giggles, Karlaftis is gone. Right. I don't think Karlaftis is on the same page anyway as those three, but what are you going to do? Go to a different position because it's more of a premium position and get significantly lower graded talent just because you don't want to take a safety? Like if Hamilton's there, it just so happens that safety is what I call a dire need. We don't have any. We have none. And unless you want, you're right. Like you said, maybe Pinnock turns, I don't know. But as it stands right now, we don't have anybody who's projected to be our starting safe. Well, we do have Ashton Davis, so forgive me. Actually, we have one. But when you got a guy like Hamilton, it's really an interesting proposition because, hey, man, he might be the best safety to come out since Ed Reed. And can anybody imagine Ed Reed on our? Do you think there's a lack of impact from Ed Reed on our defense?
And also the people who are saying this, I think, don't realize that we're a base nickel defense and why we were a base nickel defense this year. The reason we were a base nickel defense this year is because LaMarcus Joyner got injured for the whole year.
Right.
And we know that because of what they did at the end with Jason Pinnock. It took them all that time to figure out what are we going to do to replace LaMarcus Joyner. And they finally said, after all that time, maybe we can use Jason Pinnock. And they tried to develop him that way. And there was a reason for that, because we were supposed to be a 4-3 defense, but we were a base nickel because we were trying to make up for the loss of LaMarcus Joyner by having Michael Carter on the field. So it's not just that he plays safety and he plays it at an elite level. You have Hamilton on the field. You now don't need to be in base nickel. You can be in 4-3. You can have 3 linebackers, and hopefully we get 3 good ones, CJ plus 2 others. And now you can tackle people. Now you can stop the run. So it's what it allows you to do. You can also blitz more because Kyle Hamilton, you put him single high deep. He covers the whole damn
single
field.
High all day.
Single high all day with Kyle Hamilton. I'm single high, and I'm bringing the house. Now it's the Rex Ryan defense all over again. Bryce Hall, you're on an island. Whatever other cornerback we get, whether it's Eccles or let's say Dante Jackson, JC Jackson. Okay, you're on an island, and Hamilton's single high covers everything else. I'm bringing everybody. Lottie-dottie, everybody, and you try to block me. you try and block me when I'm bringing 7 or 8. Okay,
yeah,
and that's the defense. Okay, now how do we look? Now how are we looking? Because we got that one player. Now we do. I shouldn't say that. We got to get some linebackers. We might need a cornerback. Yeah. So it's not one player.
You need an edge.
Allows you conceptually. Yeah, we need an edge. But he conceptually allows you to do things that you could not otherwise do. So anybody making the case that we shouldn't get Hamilton needs to explain why everything I just said is a bad idea.
Yeah,
and I haven't. Well, and
it's. Well, and that's the thing. Like, look, and it just so happens that when you look at bust rates over the past 20 years of draft picks, a guy, guys like Linderbaum, who's a fan favorite, like top 10 centers, they have like the second highest bust rate in the past 20 years. Like, you don't take centers that high. Conversely, safeties have the least bust rate. Well, it's the second to least bust rate. But I mean, look, now that when they're counting guys like Jamal Adams in that mix, and technically speaking, he's not a bust, even though we didn't want him, and I still don't want him. But the point remains the same, is that, yes, I get what we're saying, and we're scorned lovers, Frankie. That's essentially what we are. Like, we've gotten burned twice, and so we're saying we're swearing off women. I'm swearing off relationships. Never again. but then a beautiful, and if it's men, it's men, but whatever you're attracted to walks by and you cut them off because of what some previous lady did. That's not going to get you anywhere in life. And that's what I think. My hope and my confidence is that Joe Douglas is going to do the same thing. Now, I really do believe that if Hutchinson or Thibodeau are there, I believe that will be our pick. But if they're not, there's nobody else on the board that is as strong at their position as Kyle Hamilton is. 6'4", 225 pounds. Like, he's essentially a linebacker. But he runs like a deer. He covers the whole field. Anyway, so that's our thoughts on that's the Kyle Hamilton show, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. But so Calvin Ridley, Frankie, there's a lot of talk yesterday about Calvin Ridley. Everybody's in love. I've seen everything from send a first straight up to a second and Mims. I've seen people even in the chat right now talking about no more than a fourth. Number one, there's something going on down there. I don't pretend to know what it is. I haven't dug into it to any real extensive degree, but something's wrong. There's a reason why they don't really want to continue to work together. I don't know what it is. In the event you vet Calvin Ridley, everything's good. Is that the type of player that you would want to bring over here? And in the event he is the type of player you'd want, what are you willing to give up for a guy like that?
Well, if he has to clear the mental health thing. I mean, and nobody that I've seen understands what it is that's going on, why he walked away, what's happening. So if it's a guy who just doesn't love ball anymore, then I don't want him under any circumstance.
Oh, right on.
The number one thing that these coaches have said from day one, we want dudes who love ball. And that's just a common denominator. We can't have people here who are in it for the money or in it for whatever. So if this guy just said, I'm not that into football anymore, then we say, okay, thank you very much. No, thank you. But if it's a guy who had a family issue or he had to go home because his mom got sick or, and he was spending time with his family or something happened in his community or something, and he just did something, out of the goodness of his heart because he needed to spend time with his family or something. Okay. But now that situation's resolved and he's back into football and he loves it again. Okay. I'd take a look at him. Okay, Calvin, let's take a look, because you love the talent and you salivate over the room of Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Calvin Ridley, where Corey Davis is wide receiver 3. I mean, Corey Davis is a phenomenal wide receiver 3. He's a not so good wide receiver 1. Right. And he's an okay wide receiver 2, but for 3, hey, now you got a room. So
you got a room with Berrios supporting him.
With Berrios at 4, and then the rest of the dudes, coming up. So I would say, for me, he has to clear that one hurdle. If it's just a thing where he lost his passion for football, then it's a no under any circumstances. No, I wouldn't give up anything for him. I don't want him in the room.
Yeah.
So he clears that. Then I think an interesting trade proposal is something like Mims in a 5th.
Mims in a 5th.
They might want to look at Denzel Mims and say, okay, you're giving us a cheaper alternative, but you're giving us a player. Arthur Smith is over there in Atlanta and he needs people on his team. And you're giving us a 5th to help out. So now I can draft. And I would say that's pretty fair. If he's clear, and then you have then that takes care of the weapons argument for Zach Wilson. Then we can focus on defense in the draft. So it allows us some freedom in the draft to say, okay, we're done with the wide receiver room now, pretty much, So now we're focusing all on defense and tight ends and offensive line. Of course, we have to, restock that. So that's the kind of deal I would do. I would say, because this coaching staff, what we're going to have to do with Mims over the offseason is rehab him anyway. And I don't mind the idea of rehabbing him. They need to tell him exactly what he needs to do in the offseason. For me, he needs to go to a get-off camp for one thing and get his footwork right, at least, and then come back into camp and see where he's at. But that's a rehab process, and we don't know how that's going to go. He may not go to the camp. He may go to the camp and not do so well. Like Chris Herndon went to tight end university, but he didn't graduate.
That's right. He was.
So it didn't help.
He did not do so well at tight end university.
so some people, you send him to a camp, and that this doesn't help. So you would have to do that for him anyway. This coaching staff, he's going to be behind, obviously, Elijah and Corey and Braxton and anyone else we bring back, like Jameson. So if you could say, okay, listen, we believe this kid's talented, but we're going to get a Calvin Ridley, and we'll give you a 5th, in addition, you make that trade because you hate to give up on Mims, but at the same time, if you're getting a Calvin Ridley and his head is in the right place, then you do it. So that's the way I would look at Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and it's an interesting proposition, but like you said, I mean, something's wrong, and who knows what it is? But the same could be said for Denzel Mims. We don't know what it is. I mean, even the first couple weeks of this season, Denzel Mims was fine when you put him in. First game, he had 3 reps, he got a 40-yard reception. 3 games later, he had 5 reps, he had three catches for 30 yards. So something during this process, something happened. Who knows what it is? I'd like to see them not give up on a 23-year-old 6'3" wide receiver as well. But in the event, Arthur Smith is looking for a change from this guy. He says, hey, man, I'd rather have Mims. Okay, great. Fresh start all around. Everybody's happy. Here's a 5th to bring to the draft party. So, Frankie, we're going to get into a segment that you have all queued up for us in just a moment. I want to get to a super chat from Kyle Ornsby, and then you guys will be treated to the first ever episode, if you'll call it, or incarnate, I don't know, first ever witnessing of Frankie's new segment. I'm so excited to get into it. But first, let's see what Kyle Ornsby has to say here, Frankie. I can't get on board using our first round pick on a wide receiver. A second round, yes, but not a first round. Help me get there. Well, it's going to be tough asking me, Kyle, because I don't want to use one on the first round. I don't want to use a first round pick on a wide receiver either. Now, but here's the logic from my perspective, and then we'll see what Frankie has to say as well. Look at what the Cincinnati Bengals did the last couple of years. They used the first overall pick on Joe Burrow. They used their second pick on by and large, a first round grade wide receiver in T. Higgins. Then they followed it up the next year with grabbing arguably the best wide receiver in the class in Jamar Chase. Everybody thought they were grabbing Penei Sewell, specifically because Joe Burrow's protection broke down the year before and it tore his knee, and you don't want to have that be your situation with your franchise quarterback that he's running for his life, especially when they were asking him to throw the ball 40 times a game. So when you look at it, though, what they bet on is that we have so many weapons to take care of, or to be accounted for, that it's going to break the defense. Therefore, the pass rush will subside, all that sort of stuff. And that in large part has been what happened. They are one of the more up and coming, but they are, and just an electric offense, very, very potent. And the same thing could be given to Zach. Like, we're halfway there. Like, yes, we have Corey Davis. Yes, we have Elijah Moore, who has had a few injuries this year. Yes, we have Michael Carter. He's had a few injuries this year. Berrios is nice. But who else is going to be there? Why not finish this for Zach Wilson? Give him those really reliable weapons that are going to keep defenses on their heels, and let him succeed before we start focusing elsewhere. And even though I'm not necessarily on that tip, I'm a believer in like kind of getting some first round premium capital on the other side of the ball a little bit. I do understand it, I think, is the best way for me to say it. Frankie, do you have any thoughts? Are you on board with using a first round wide receiver or first round pick on a wide receiver?
No, we do need to improve the wide receiver room. Of course, we need to sign Braxton Berrios first and foremost. And then in addition to that, we do need to pick somebody else up. Now, I'd go into the free agency market. I'd see if I could get me an Allen Robinson. Maybe he wants to come over here. If not, maybe I could get a Juju Smith-Schuster on a 1-year prove-it deal to improve the room. So I think it's important to improve the room. And if we can't do anything in free agency, then I would draft a guy in the 3rd, 4th round. Can I get me a Romeo Doubs? Can I get me a Justin Ross? Can I get me somebody like that? Romeo Doubs is a guy nobody's really talking about that I've seen, but he's a really, got kid out of Nevada who plays with Carson Strong and Cole Turner out there. And there's a guy 6'2", fast, route running.
Right.
He's kind of underrated, under the radar. Can I get him in the 3rd, 4th round? I take a guy like Romeo, Romy to homie. You want some dubs, you take Romeo Doubs. You want some dubs, you got to take Romeo Doubs. And so I would look into a guy like that. So the reason being is that we have the 32nd ranked defense. We have a terrible defense, and so we have to use, in my opinion, those first 2 picks have to be defense, I think. And then probably the third, and probably then tight end in the 2nd round, and our other 2nd round, probably defense again. I mean, we have a terrible, terrible, terrible defense. Our premium picks have to be spent on defense, in my opinion. So I don't mind the idea of getting a wide receiver in the first round. Like if somebody told me, okay, you're going to get Garrett Wilson, you're going to get Chris Olave, you're going to get the kid from Purdue, David Bell, I wouldn't be mad about it. I'd be like, okay, we got a great wide receiver room. I don't mind it. But then I'd be saying, okay, how are we going to stop anybody? How are we going to did you watch this defense? It's terrible. We need premium players on defense.
Yeah.
So I don't hate
when they're running 280 yards on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the ground game is getting 2 bills.
I mean, they're doing screens, making us look like clowns running out there. So I don't hate the idea, but for me, I would try to get value in the free agency market. I would try to get value later in the mid rounds for a wide receiver and spend my premium picks on defense. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, right. And don't forget, guys, like when you're, for the wide receiver in the first crowd, and like Frankie said, I'm not going to be upset. Like if that's what the Jets feel they need to do, if they do buy into the idea, like, all right, look, we're going to use one of our firsts on the defense, and then we're going to give Zach a premium weapon. Okay, fine. But if they don't and do what Frankie's talking about, they take an edge and Hamilton or a linebacker, Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd up top, and that's the way they go. You can still get guys like Pickens, like Treylon Burks in the second. Easy. They're going to be there. And so that's the thing. Like you're going to be able to still address the offense without using your premium picks on the offense, because this defense up top, Jesus Christmas, this draft happens to be super strong with defense up top. There is a little bit larger of a drop off from the defense in the later rounds than there is with the offense. It's not a super strong wide receiver class like it has been, and teams recognize that, and they're going to try to basically like a scavenger hunt. They're going to try to get those premium defensive guys up top. So you want to, when you're sitting up there, if you're not going to trade back or anything, you grab what the draft is strong in. You don't reach because you want a certain position. And I think that's the way that it should go. That's what smart teams do. You look at the draft and what it has for you, and you go, you know what, here's what we need in that regard, let's get it, as opposed to reaching, because you can get Treylon Burks more than likely in the mid to late second, potentially even the third, and then you can get the tight end that we need, Trey McBride. He's going to be there in the second most likely, potentially the third, depending on how the tight ends fall this year. But it is a deep tight end class, but you never know. So that's what we think. I don't know if we've convinced you or anything, because quite frankly, we're with you. It's hard to convince you of something I don't agree with. So, but Frankie and I are both on the defensive tip this year, and I think it sounds like you are too, Kyle. But that's the thinking. And I wouldn't be devastated if we decided to go offense. Hey, man, however they want to build it, I'm in. But we have our own ideas. So, Frankie, before we bring Watu-K on, I'm going to bring Watu-K, and he's going to talk to us about the potential draft ramifications of this game. But before that, we're going to get into your new segment. Let's see how I do this, Frankie. Let's see what we got here. We're going to get into Frankie's Facts. All right.
I love that.
What do you got? Hey, Frankie, what do you got for us after that amazing intro that took me 3 days to do, huh? What do you got?
Let's talk about a little bit of QB comparison. Let's do a comparison of some stats to try and put our boy Zach Wilson into context. So one of the things that we do over on my channel, the Frankie from Flatbush channel, we try to contextualize the performance of our players. So let's just go through a few completion percentages for this season. So Zach is 56.7%. The next quarterback is 58.9%. The next quarterback is 57.7%. The next quarterback is 66.5%. And the last quarterback is 58.8%. So who do you think these quarterbacks are after the first one being Zach? Well, I guess I'll leave it for the chat to kind of conjecture a little bit.
Yeah, I have. I think number 2 is going to. Well, is it Mac Jones?
Nope.
No.
Mac Jones not on the list.
Interesting. Okay, chat, what do you think? Rephrase that for him, Frankie, so they make sure that they're answering the question.
Yeah, the first one is Zach Wilson. His completion percentage on the year is 56.7%. Well, that's not great. But the second guy on the list, 58.9%. The third guy on the list, 57.7%. Fourth guy on the list, 66.5%. And fifth guy on the list, 58.8% completion.
And these are all the rookies.
They could be rookies.
Oh,
I'll
I
say
see. Okay.
4 out of 5 are rookies. Because if you say rookies, then they're going to know who they are.
Yeah. Well, right. There's only so many. So let's see. Jets Forever comes in and says the next guy is Lance. What do you think of that?
So the third guy on the list is Trey Lance. The third
wow.
guy on the list, 57.7%.
57.7%. Now, Joe Campione comes in and he says Mills and Lawrence. So where do they come in? Where do they settle in? Are they on there?
So they are on there. So Davis Mills is fourth. So that was 66.5%. And he's been the most surprising rookie, I would say, out of all.
Totally.
And then Lawrence, 58.9%. That's the second guy.
Now,
Anyone
Jeremy comes in. He says, is Sam Darnold on your list?
Yeah, well, Jeremy, I think probably cheated by watching my video this week, but the fifth guy on the list is Sam Darnold.
Oh,
58.8%. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? If you
is.
look at all these people, they're pretty much the same, and 4 out of 5 of them are rookies, and Sam Darnold's in his 4th year, and he's basically doing the same things. And so the first guy is Wilson, second guy is Lawrence, third guy is Lance, fourth guy is Mills, and fifth guy is Darnold. Listen to their yards per game. Wilson has 187.25 yards per game. Lawrence, 213. Trey Lance, 100. Davis Mills, 196. And Sam Darnold, 209. They're all in the same category. Touchdowns per game. Wilson, 0.67. Lawrence, 0.63, Lance, 0.83, Mills, doing the best, 1.08, and Sam Darnold, 0.64. So
and
Wilson,
wait, and Zach was 0.6?
0.67. So
6.7.
he's doing better than Lawrence and better than Darnold. And we're all
look what Darnold was
crazy.
given.
Yeah.
Look what Darnold was given. He has surrounded by talent.
And that includes the 3 games plus with McCaffrey, where it was just McCaffrey all day. Even look at interceptions per game. Zach Wilson, 0.92. Trevor Lawrence, 1.06. More interceptions per game. Trey Lance, 0.33. Okay, good there. Mills, 0.83, right in the neighborhood. Sam Darnold, 1.09.
Sheesh.
So, for anybody who thought we should keep Sam Darnold, it's not looking that way, at least as of right now. And I think these numbers are pretty encouraging when you think about the fact that Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the generational talent. And for one thing, and Lawrence and Wilson and even Justin Fields. Justin Fields, by the way, completion percentage is about 58.8% too, for those who are curious. And those guys went to teams that are bad. They went to bad teams. You don't get the first pick in the draft if you have an amazing roster. And you don't have the second pick in the draft if you have it. So Lawrence and Wilson and all these people went to the similar situations in Fields, and they're doing about the same. It's actually quite striking.
And that's look, it's like, this isn't an attempt to rub anybody's face in anything, right? It's just giving us perspective after we, look, a year ago or 6, 7, 8 months ago, right now, 9 months, we were all debating whether or not we should do X or do Z. And a lot of people were on one side and people were on the other side. And here we are with a season of data to look at. And it turns out that Sam Darnold, when given some really premium assets. Now, the offensive line wasn't good. You can't pretend it was perfect down there, but he was given Matt Rule and Joe Brady and Robbie Anderson back and Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore and just on and on and on. And he's got numbers that are right in the same pocket, if not worse in some categories than Zach Wilson, who has struggled.
Yeah.
And this is a guy in his 4th year. What do you think, Frankie? Sam Darnold done as a starter in this league for a while?
Well, he's going to be the starter for the Carolina Panthers next year. They're paying him $18 million. What are they going to do? Put him on the bench? So I
Yeah.
mean, he's going to have to be their starter. I hate to tell you that, Carolina fans, unless they do so, unless they want to pay him to go away like they did with Teddy Bridgewater, which I still don't understand that move. You made all these moves and you wind up with Darnold and you pay Bridgewater to go away. You could have been a much better team with Teddy Bridgewater. I hate to tell you, and not paid all that money. But yeah, it's just to and so these things are just to contextualize and say, you know, because a lot of times I think Jet fans get a little myopic. They look at the Jets only, and they don't understand the context of what these people are doing, and it's just interesting to me that they're all so very similar. All these rookies in bad situations. Now Mills has the best completion percentage, but if you watch Davis Mills, it's not bad to be a check down Charlie, but a lot of times it's 3rd and 12 and he's checking down for a 3-yard gain. So, I mean, that kind of thing, he just doesn't take chances. He really doesn't. I mean, now he'll throw some shots down the field sometimes, but a lot of times he's 3rd and 12 and throwing a 4-yard pass. I mean, and it gets completed. So he has a good completion percentage, but we'll have to see if he can develop, but it's not a bad thing.
Exactly. Well, and like Red Dog said in the comment, 1 year doesn't mean anything, right? But it's still the year that we have. And we like to look at data that we have. Hey, a guy being great his rookie year or whatever doesn't mean he's going to have a great career. A guy being terrible his rookie year doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. And that's kind of the things you see that pendulum swing back and forth, which is why I like what Frankie is bringing to us, because it's just numerical. And yes, there's all kinds of reasons one way or the other, of course. And it's not to draw a permanent conclusion or anything finite. It's just, hey, take a look at this. Would you imagine that this is the way it ended up? So, Frankie, thank you for Frankie's facts, and we'll get more into this. I want to bring Watu on before our guest comes. I'm really curious, Frankie, on what we are going to do or what's going to happen to us if we win or lose this game. So let's bring Watu on. What's up, Watu? How you doing in there?
If I was any better, I would be you right now, GreenBean. How's
that? My God. Well, that's all right. Well, then you're doing pretty badly. So there you go. So what do you got? Now, listen, a lot of Jets fans are hoping that we lose this game, Watu. That's understandable. They don't want to lose our 4th draft position. They even have hopes that maybe we can go to the 3rd pick. But what really happens? What is the actual scenario? What does it look like if we win the game? And then you tell us what happens if we lose the game.
Okay, so looking at the first Jets round pick, the pick that the Jets actually own, that is a much simpler proposition than the Seattle pick. So we'll start with the Jets pick and we'll do as much as we can here. So if the Jets win the game, it's a little more complicated. If they win, you also have to look at the Giants versus Washington and the Panthers versus the Buccaneers. So if the Jets – now remember, the Giants and Washington game will be done first. So that's important. The simple way to say it is probably this. If the Giants lose and the Jets win, the Jets will fall behind the Giants on the draft board.
The Giants lose and the Jets win. The Giants leapfrog us.
Correct. Yep. So then we would fall to 5. The ways we would stay at 4, here's how we can stay at number 4 even if we beat Buffalo. It would take the Giants winning and the Panthers winning, or it would take the Giants winning again, the Panthers lose, and now we got to break down strength of schedule, and here's where it gets a little crazy. So if I broke down the strength of schedule, we would need 4 out of 6 games to go a certain way. All right, and it's going to get a little nuts. But, I mean, most likely it's very hard for me to imagine the Panthers beating the Buccaneers. I think we could, if there's one game we can agree on, it's probably that one. So,
Frankie, do you agree with that? Do you think that's pretty much the lock of the week?
Yeah, there's about 4 there's about 4 or 5 locks. That's one good one. I mean, it's hard to see the Bucs losing with something on the line.
With something on the line, right? So okay, so the Panthers more than likely will lose. We're with you, Watu.
Okay, so yeah, I would say this. Here's the one way that the Jets can fall to 6. That our current 4th pick can become a 6. So that would take the Jets winning, the Giants losing, the Panthers losing, and the Panthers maintain their strength of schedule over the Jets. So it could go down as far as 6.
Well, that doesn't sound too difficult to get there. I mean, that's all we got to do is lose, and there's a lot of pieces that are very easily falling into place there. That's a scary one.
Yeah, we would have to beat Buffalo and have these other things happen.
Okay, I heard that.
If we lose to Buffalo, are we locked into number 4? Is that basically it? Oh
no! If we lose, we cannot drop below 4. But then if we lose and Houston beats Tennessee, we then get the 3rd spot.
Oh, really?
That might be the lock of the week, to be honest with you. Is Houston, Tennessee?
Do you think Houston has any? Is Tennessee locked in or anything? Do they have their spot, or are they playing for anything? Does anybody know? Watch you, Katie. Know?
No, Tennessee's playing for home field advantage. I think win, and since Kansas City lost to Cincinnati, Tennessee has everything to play for.
Yeah. So
sometimes Houston has surprised people this year. Sometimes if Davis Mills has a good game, which he's capable of.
Houston beat them once already this year, as I recall, way back when.
And they beat the Chargers 2 weeks ago.
They're not going to overlook them.
They almost beat the freaking Patriots, the Texans, for God's sakes. Somehow. I still don't understand that one.
They beat the Chargers 2 weeks ago. They've already beaten the Titans. They almost beat the Patriots. So, guys, it's possible. It's possible. Look, you think the team that has something to play for automatically is going to win, but let me tell you, teams really love playing spoiler. It's the last little bite of the sandwich they're going to get all year. They want it. They want to bite that sandwich.
The other team could get nervous. We're going to lose to this terrible team. We get nervous, maybe. And especially if your quarterback is named Tannehill. I mean, come on. You could have a bad game at any point.
Any day. And they don't have Derrick Henry anymore. Although they've hit a stride after the injury, but so good for them. But that's still, they don't have that to lean on. So it's possible. Watch2K, how do you see it falling? Then we're going to bring our guest is in the house. I can't wait to bring him on. But before we do, I just want to say, Watch2K, how do you see it falling? And then Frankie, I'll see if you agree with him, and then we'll move on to bring it on, Boy Green.
How do I see the draft picks falling? What am I predicting?
What's going to happen? Yeah.
Okay. I think we lose and Tennessee beats Houston. I say that pick at 4 stays where it is.
Okay.
That's how I'm feeling there. The whole thing here with the Seattle pick, oh my gosh, the Seattle-Arizona game is going to have me freaked out because I could see Seattle upsetting Arizona. And if that happens, that pick can drop all the way to 13. There is a way.
I don't like that.
There is a way.
On,
the Seattle pick can be 6. We could get 3 and 6. It could happen. I will break this one scenario down because this is just beautiful. And everybody get out your pen and paper because you're going to want to for this one. Okay. So for Seattle to finish 6, here's what has to happen. Arizona has to beat Seattle. Plus, Carolina has to beat Tampa Bay. Plus, Indianapolis has to beat Jacksonville. Not bad. Plus, Atlanta has to beat New Orleans. Plus, the Giants have to beat Washington. Plus, Houston has to beat Tennessee. Plus, Minnesota has to beat Chicago. Did we get all that?
And if all that happens, which is very likely, what we go to 13? That's how it goes?
No, we go to 6.
Oh,
we go to 6. It goes from 7 to 6. That's best case scenario.
So hopefully everybody wrote that down because that's what we have to root for, everybody. That's it right there.
And then we get Hamilton and Karlaftis, and then we get Trey McBride in the second round, and then everybody's happy. And Treylon Burks, and boom, what a team.
Dude, it's a slam dunk. It's easy.
8 games go exactly as we want. 8 games. Including the Jets losing.
Right.
3 and
including
6.
the Jets losing. Right. Okay. Well, we got something to watch this week, guys. This is the first time in our collective fandom that we ever have a 17th regular season game. Why shouldn't it be interesting? Why not? I'm in. I love it. Frankie, where do you think our picks are going to fall? And then we're going to jump to Boy Green. Paul Esden Jr. is here. I'm staring at him. He's writing shit down with his pen and everything for you, Watch2K. I can see him doing it. So, Frankie, how do you see this one going?
We'll probably be 4. Let's say we're doing 4 and 10. Micah Parsons was the 11th pick in the draft last year, I believe. I could deal with a Micah Parsons. It's not so bad. It's not so bad to be in 10, 11 range.
Dude, the fact that Seattle's pick is anywhere in that conversation is a miracle in and of itself. Yes. They were calling them 2 second-round picks when we made the trade. Joe Douglas got hornswoggled. They're 2 second-round picks. And look at this, the 23, which ended up the 14th. and a top 10 pick, I'm in. So Frankie says 4 and 10. Watsuke, we're going to bring you back on for some trivia a little bit later, but awesome, man. Thank you. This is the fun stuff for this week. Jets got a game to play, but in addition to that, we got some draft picks to see how they're going to fall, and that's fantastic. So thank you, Watsuke. I appreciate it, buddy.
You're welcome, guys. I'll see you a little later tonight.
All right. So, Frankie, that leaves us with the main event. That's what this is, the main event. So we're going to go ahead and say hello
The man
to
himself.
Boy Green. Yeah. Are you ready for this, man?
I don't know if I'm ready.
All
He's
right.
going to bring the energy. He's
yes,
gonna bring
he
the
is.
energy.
No more sleeping on this show. So let's say hello to Boy Green, Paul Esden Jr. from the Jet Zone podcast. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm awesome. Congrats to the new co-host, Frankie from Flatbush, one of the best in the business. So, I mean,
Right
little
on.
green bean, little Frankie, I love it. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we're psyched to have you here, man. This is great. And it's interesting, too, because you're here the second hour. So we're trying to, like, squeeze in all the other stuff, like, on a time limit. I've never had to do that before. I've never tried to time everything because Frankie and I are very similar, Paul. We're wordy. We can just, you say, hey, what's your favorite color? And 20 minutes later, you're talking about a cheese that nobody's ever heard of from Spain. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? So it was interesting, but I'm really excited to have you, man. It's been a little while since you and I have been on together. But so this week has been interesting. I can't wait to talk to you because you've kind of been out front on some things this week, the past 2 weeks, really, if I may. And so you're out there kind of being critical of some of the ways that the Jets have been covered, let's say. Where do you see it, like the peak of that? What do you think the main issue has been these past couple weeks from your perspective as far as the Jets, the perception of what's been going on for the Jets?
You know, I talked about this on the Jet Zone, but for me, I feel like it's certain biases that people had at the time Zach Wilson was drafted, and they've refused to adapt or die to the situation for one reason or another. And I use the example on the Jets, and so I'll use it again. I am continuing every week. I get tweets from the past. Again, if you tweet it out, it's on the internet forever. That I thought Josh Allen was going to be a horrible bust. Josh Allen. I thought it was going to be terrible. I said he can't improve accuracy. The Wyoming tape was disgusting. I know he had lesser talent and all these other things. There's no way he's going to improve it. He's going to be a bust. I didn't see it coming. But I will tell you that, you know, for me, obviously, with the MVP near campaign last year, and obviously they're in a position to win a second straight AFC East title, I've been wrong, and I was wrong. And I've been willing to admit that and take the L. Hey, man, congrats to Buffalo. Way to build around your young quarterback. But I think there are others using that as a basis that people refuse to be wrong. They may say Justin Fields, for instance. I know there's a lot of Justin Fields truthers out there that continue to say every time Zach Wilson makes a mistake, well, they could have had Justin Fields. And that to me is a little annoying. That to me is a little nauseating. And quite frankly, it all came to a head, obviously, on SNY TV, the post-game show. We have Leger Douzable. We have Bart Scott. You have Willie Colon. Guys, for a long time, I've respected. I love Bart Scott. I love Willie Colon. I've met him at Jets training camp. Really great guy. And Leger, I haven't had as much of a relationship with, but, you know, we've connected off air before and have chatted. So, you know, I had a respect for these guys, and I feel like they took it to a different level. It felt like a personal attack. It felt they went to a different level, quite frankly, that was unprofessional, disgusting, and one that I felt like needed to be addressed, needed to be called out. And it went to a different level, obviously, with Willie Colon doubling down on the idiocy.
Yeah, what was that?
Roberts saying, you know, you know, Roberts asked him, hey, man, you know, is there something you don't know? It sounded personal. Is there something you don't know that we don't know? Fill us in, because maybe there is, and maybe you know something all of us don't, and you're about to shed the light right now. And he went on a whole nonsensical diatribe about, well, I've never met Wilson personally, but I would say this. I know some things, and I've heard some things, but that's all I'm going to say. It's not my place to say, but it's his place to bring that bullshit, quite frankly, out into the ethos for all of us to go, wait, you don't know anything, but you're willing to say you know some ominous thing you're not willing to tell? Smells like bullshit to me, GreenBean. And to me, that was, again, unprofessional, and it just really ticked me off.
Yeah, well, and I was so grateful that you did that, man, because, look, we're over here. I don't write for any publication or anything like that. And we're doing the Frankie, myself, Matt O'Leary, Ryan, we're all doing this boycott the beat thing and all that.
Yeah.
But we can only go so far. A lot of people are jumping on board. I've been on a little bit of a personal diatribe against Samini for 3 years now, whatever the hell I'm talking
Great
about.
cause,
Nobody's
by
listening.
the way. So shout out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. But when I saw you, out front, and forgive me for, saying it this way, but I really felt like it legitimized our gripe. I felt like, because a lot of times it could almost seem like we just complain a lot as Jets fans. But the truth is, this one felt weird. It felt different. It's not just Shap saying, Trevor Lawrence shouldn't have to go to an organization like the Jets. Like, we all know what that is, But as far as these guys were taking personal shots, he's selfish. He wanted the glory, just all the stuff they're saying. And like you said, when they went out to Willie Colon, they asked if you met him. He says, no. Well, that's an interesting, you have quite the feelings for somebody you've never met. But then in addition, what you just outlined, I've heard things and I know things, but I won't say things. Like that to me is I don't know anything and I'm trying to cover my tracks. That's all it is. And it's bothersome. So I really appreciated you kind of taking the lead on that because it is bullshit, man. Now, flipping that a little bit, and then we're going to get in. I know the chat's going to have some questions for you, and I got a couple super chats to get to as well. But so flipping that, our feelings towards what was said. How have you seen Zach Wilson over those, let's just say the past 2 or 3 weeks? How have you seen our quarterback? Do you think there's reason for optimism? What are you seeing through your eyes as far as our quarterback, Zach Wilson, is concerned? He's wrapping up this season.
If you don't see optimism, you're blind. I don't know what else. The arrows pointing up, the level of play, quite frankly, go through all the numbers. I recently tweeted it out. 4 straight games without a pick. Is 136 consecutive passes of no interceptions.
Right.
That's the 4th most active streak in the league behind Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, and Matt Ryan, I believe, is the other one. He's just been kind of squeaking by it, but nonetheless, he's up there. So that's an incredible streak. And then I think it's 2 interceptions in like his last 7 or 8 games. So whatever it is, again, Zach Wilson at first was terrible. 4 interception implosion against New England. I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the ball yard, and the criticism was, whoa, Zach, rein it in, man. That's disgusting play out there. He reins it in. Then people are saying, well, where's the deep ball, Zach? Of course you're not throwing an interception. You're not throwing it far enough. So the moving field goal post has been stupid, quite frankly. So I feel like when he sucks, let's call him out. Let's criticize. Let's be fair. But when he's doing good, as he's been doing clearly to me, I think it's a time for some praise. So for me, quite frankly, it's been great. It's been phenomenal. Now he's got another game. There's a chance here, and I'm going to jinx it, obviously, by saying this, that he could be on this crazy interception-less streak heading into next year. And for the stat nerds, that continues. That active streak will continue into next year, however long that would go. I mean, that's just great. No matter what happens, really, within reason in this Buffalo game. I mean, Zach Wilson, the arrow is pointing up, and I think all of us should be feeling great that we have the guy. But obviously, there's a lot to go.
There's a lot to go. But I will say, I don't know how much I appreciate you calling Frankie here a stat nerd like you just did. But you're absolutely right, man. And I feel the same way. I mean, look, this guy started, he was the most sacked, the most hurried, the most pressured quarterback in the NFL. There was that stat that came out in the first quarter of the season. He has an average of 1.7 seconds to throw the ball. This is where he came from. He was bouncing balls into the dirt. He was looking like he was completely lost. And these past few weeks, no picks, touchdowns, calm down, not perfect. Or if DJ Bieniemy's any indicator, the fact that he hasn't made it to 300 yards is some sort of litmus test that he hasn't made it past that. So I guess he sucks. But which he did make it to 297. And I don't know about you guys. That's 300. Yeah, what are we talking about here? So yeah. So but yeah, man, I think that he has had quite the turnaround. And it's good to hear you say that, man. I actually, I read another article, but I don't know if it was you, but it was heavy.com. And I want to get to this in a little bit too, is CJ Mosley winning MVP. I can't wait to get your thoughts on what he was saying these past couple days as well. But Frankie, talking about Zach with what Boy Green is saying, do you have anything that would be maybe different than what we're saying? Do you see, I know you just gave up some pretty good stats about Zach Wilson. With your stat and data background, is what Boy Green and I are saying about Zach, is it holding water? Is this season wrapping up positively?
Well, absolutely. I mean, look at the rookie year that Josh Allen had. 52% completion percentage. Zach's better. 12 games played, 2,074 yards. Zach has more yards in the same amount of games. 12 picks. Zach has one fewer. And, Josh Allen threw 10 touchdowns and Zach has 8. So overall, through 12 games in their rookie year, Zach's been better than Josh Allen. So, I mean, but now somebody's going to say, what about Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow? Because Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow were much better than probably any rookies in the history of quarterbacking. And that's true.
Yeah.
So, but just to give, again, more context. So, you look at it that way and you say, okay, and he started off horribly and he still has total better stats than Allen had his rookie year. I mean, you got to say that that's an amazing thing. The other thing I'll just say about this whole Zach Wilson thing about people who never talk to the guy, one thing that is apparent and that you can spot is if people start doing mind reading. So like, how does Bart Scott know? How does Doozable know? How does Willie Colon know what he's thinking? Because that's what they're saying. I know what Zach Wilson is thinking when he did what he did. It's like, how do you know that? You're mind reading now. And that's a form of what's called loser think. And those are people who are just basically raising their hand and saying, please block me on Twitter. Please ignore everything I say. Please remove me from your consciousness, because they have no way of knowing. They admit they've never talked to the kid. They've never met him. How do they know what's going on in his mind? Yet they're putting into the conversation, into the public debate, the fact, things that Zach Wilson is thinking, and they know for sure he was thinking, I'm going to hog all the glory for my, which is ridiculous.
This is what I want. This is my moment.
Yeah, this is my moment. Meanwhile, everybody in the world has said Zach Wilson's a great teammate. Mike White, his girlfriend is texting his wife when Mike White was in there, and Zach Wilson's texting Mike White's phone so that when he would get back to his locker, he'd have 20 million texts from Zach Wilson saying how awesome it was to watch him play. You have the comments from Morgan Moses saying this organization's amazing. Right. You have Braxton Berrios saying, I ride with 2.
Yeah.
God. I ride with 2.
Right. It's amazing. It really is how contradictory everything is. And I'm going to tell you this, and Paul, you might want to look into this. Somebody in the know that I was talking to told me that SNY may be looking to flip the channel again, flip the group. Now, maybe not because of this, but maybe they heard about it and they're just trying to get as much hoopla going as they can before. I don't know, but Paul, I can totally see you in that spot, my friend. Would you do it? Or is that you have any interest in being the SNY post-game crew?
Their people can talk to my people. Let's make it happen, baby. I am all in. I feel like it does need a facelift. I heard a lot of people complain about, missing Ray Lucas and a couple other guys.
Yeah.
I would love to. I'd love to be a part of that movement, baby.
Yeah. Well, who was with it? It was Ray Lucas, and who else? Who was with Ray Lucas back then?
Jonas, remember? Right? So Jonas was there. Jonas Schwartz. What was his name?
There was another former player. I don't know. But yeah. Ray Lucas was good. I was surprised. Not that I watch it all the time. Admittedly, I don't, but I would catch it and go, oh, wow, I'm good for Ray Lucas. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, so that's, you heard it here first. Paul Esden Jr. will be the new host of the SNY post-game crew alongside of Frankie from Flatbush. Beautiful. This is how it's going to go. And this show will be forever known as the episode that we broke it all for the world to see. But I want to get to a couple super chats before we move on. I want to talk a little bit about CJ Mosley as well. Kyle Ornsby reminds me, this is to a comment I made. You may or may not have been in the room yet, Paul. I said that they don't have Derrick Henry as he was injured. So Kyle Ornsby is saying that he's coming back. Is this accurate? I didn't hear this. Is this accurate? He's coming back for the playoffs?
Back to practice this week. So, and again, if they win, as we know, they will clinch the first seed, which will give them a bye. So it looks like, according to the timeline of return, he should be back for that divisional round, which would be the Titans' first playoff game. That is correct.
That's good for them and good for Derrick Henry. I got to say, like, I don't make it a habit of rooting for other teams and their players. I just don't. I'm a root against kind of guy. I just am. I root against everybody, and how I only root for when it benefits the Jets in some way. But Derrick Henry was about to be the first player, in my opinion, to be 2,000 yards 2 consecutive years, and it broke my friggin' heart when he went down, because I love his running style. He's my kind of guy, and that was really sad. So I'm happy to hear he's coming back. That's good news. Mitch, thank you for the super chat, my friend. He says, keep up the great work, Green Bean. I am in Virginia, and we have to tailgate next year, kind sir. Go Jets. Well, Mitch, Watu-K runs the Virginia Jets fan club. Watu-K, who was just on a few minutes with us, they're down there in Norfolk. I went down there and did a live on-location live stream for Jetnation down there. It was amazing. The people down there are good people, and I'm going to tell you right now, the wings were actually good. I'm so disappointed with wings everywhere I go, man. But the wings at this place, AJ Gators, I think it's called, in Norfolk, good wings, good people, good Jets atmosphere. So if you're looking to hang, Mitch, that's where to go. Contact Watu-K. We'll give you information at the end of the show. But thank you, man. And if I'm in Virginia again, which will be at least a year till I'm back around, I'd love to hang with you and get some tailgate action going. Now, Dom C. What's that, Paul?
I was just going to jump in there for folks who don't know. Boy Green was born in Norfolk, Virginia. Maybe it's time for a road trip. I have not been there in over 20 years. That may sound like a good idea.
Dude, the Virginia Jets fan club is residing in your hometown. Can you believe this kismet?
I didn't even know that. Thank you. He's got to give me some details after the show. All right.
Absolutely. And they are a good group of people, man. They have giveaways and trivia and just I think there was like 80 people there. It was fantastic, man. Good time. And again, I mean, the thing that stuck out was the friggin' wings. Because everywhere I go, Paul, they go, we got hot wings. You want them? What flavor do you want? You want hot, medium, or nuclear? And I'm like, I'll go nuclear. And it's like eating baby food. You know what I mean? So I like my shit hot. And AJ Gators was good wings. So you'll get that too. But yeah, so Dom C checks in. Dom C, I'll remind everybody, I think this is that Dom C. He says, how does one get a guest spot on the show? Dom C is going to be getting a guest spot on the show because he's currently writing weekly blogs for GreenBeanjetsfan.com. He's breaking down the positions in the draft. So he did safeties the first week. He did, tight ends last week, and he's doing edge rushers this week. So if you guys haven't checked out Dom C, it's a great read. And Dom, I'm hoping to get you on the show very, very soon, and we're going to do some other fun stuff. So Dom C, he's busting my balls. That's what he's doing. And I'm okay with that, Paul. I am. So I think that's all the super chats for now. Frankie, do you have any questions for Paul or anybody from the chat that you saw sticking out?
I didn't see any in the chat, but sticking on the injuries situation. There's another guy coming back called Cam Akers, Cam the Ram. And this is somebody to watch for us because he had an Achilles injury and he's coming back, and I think he's playing this week. Paul, yes. Do you think that we can look at that and say, okay, let's have some optimism for Carl Lawson and Jamie and Sherwood, or does it not, injury to one dude doesn't translate to these other guys?
It's a mixed bag. I would love to say that Cam Akers inspires hope, and it should on some level that it is possible to come back from an Achilles. The fact that he did it in the offseason and everyone immediately, as normal, ruled him out for the season is very typical. The fact that he even has a chance to come back is a credit to him and his work ethic, and quite frankly, somewhat of the randomness of his Achilles healing a little faster than someone else's. I mean, the fact of the matter is Carl Lawson, the $45 million man, the straw that stirs the drink for this Jets defense. We didn't get to see that, obviously, this year. We don't know what he's going to be. So I think the Jets have to operate not thinking he's going to be the superstar he is. And if he is, which I have all the hope in the world, I love Carl Lawson. He was my favorite free agent fit before free agency even started. So I was celebrating like anybody when he got that deal from the Jets. to me, you have to assume that you're not getting anything from Carl and build the room with that mentality. And if he is, then it's gravy. And you have Carl Lawson plus whatever else you're going to bring to the table. So I think they are separate situations, case by case. But if you do want to hold on to some sense of optimism heading into next year, that it is possible to see it. Again, we've seen it with Kobe, different sports of people coming back from Achilles injuries. And it's becoming more. Again, this was a death nail back in the day, long story short. With an Achilles, your career could be over. That is no longer the case anymore. Shout out to advancements of medical technology, but it is case by case.
And I'd like to ask a follow-up question. Do you think that the field turf, our stadium is one of about half of the stadiums in all of football that has what's called field turf, which is basically ground up rubber and silica dust and all these things. It's basically a rubber field.
Yeah.
Do you think that we have more leg injuries in particular and more serious leg injuries because of that field? And do you think it's possible for us via fan petition to get the Jets to change it to a grass and dirt field? This is an idea I have.
Yes. I am all for petitions because petitions, hey, man, it's our right. So, it's our right to party. So I'm all for petitions. I will follow that up with, for instance, Carl Lawson got injured on the road in Green Bay when he blew out his Achilles in that preseason game. And the Giants had all those problems, I remember, on the new field. The 49ers, that was a week 2 game. I think that was Gay's era, where that week 2, where it was Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, and multiple 49ers all going out, Raheem Mostert and others that all kind of bang, bang, bang all went out. That was when Salah was with the 49ers. So to me, I think it's just, I prefer grass field. That's my own personal taste, but I don't think it contributes any more or less. There are so many fields in the NFL that have it. I've heard people complain about it, but there's also been the other side of lack of injuries there for the Jets. So to me, I don't think so. I'm all cool with petitions. People want to petition, go ahead, petition to petition. But in this particular case, I don't imagine that changing anytime soon. And I don't think there's a massive correlation.
Okay.
Yeah, and Frankie had a fantastic video, Paul, about the different types of fields, and it's really interesting. I think, Frankie, we got to get on that and just really use one of these episodes to expand upon the details, because
I'd be interested to hear more.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
The thing about it for me is the Players Association is begging the NFL to change to all grass and dirt fields, and they're saying they have all of the data to support the fact that you have more leg injuries in particular and more serious ones for teams that play on those rubber turfs. And the way the injuries do work, it's like cumulative. So the more you pound your body on that type of turf, eventually, it becomes like the straw that broke the camel's back. So, Lawson hurt himself in Green Bay, but and Lawson's a bad example because he hadn't played for us yet on our rubber field. But if you're playing on a rubber field half the time, as opposed to 100% grass, you're more likely to be injured. That's the sort of thing that the Players Association is saying. They're saying they have all the data. They're saying, hey, we want you to change this. And my whole thing is, well, if you really care about it, you've got to put it into the CBA. Hello. You can't just say, put it out a press release, JC Treader, and think that, the NFL is going to do something. You have to actually be serious about it and put it in the CBA. But, at the same time, so the petition would just be, we support the Players Association. The fans support the Players Association, urging for that's that kind of thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Well, I like it. It's the interesting thing about the field turf is once that came out and it looked like initially like just a slam dunk idea, all the high schools and all the youth football around the country, that's all field turf now. It's all the ground up rubber balls. Like my son's field, he played football in Virginia this year, and I would, I would play with the rubber balls. I would sit there and watch football and play with the rubber balls, and that's what it was. So that'd be the other thing. All these poor little kids. Who knows what's going to happen to them? But I fully support grass and dirt, man. So why not? Let's go back to the way the way it was meant to be, right?
Yeah.
So Paul, we have a few questions. The first two are they kind of interlock, and that's from Stud City 718 and Harry W. Stud City is saying, "What's your draft board at the moment?" But Harry is asking, who would you pick at number 4? So let's just combine them and say, if you had your druthers, we're at pick 4, we're at pick 7. Who you taking?
Okay. All right. If one of the edge rushers are on the board, this is an obvious duh. if Kayvon or Hutchinson is somehow on the board, anything could happen, you suppose. Players slip all the time for one reason or another. Yeah, Hutchinson was terrible in the college football playoff, so let him slip, let him fall.
That's right.
So let's get that going. Obviously, if either of those are on the board, I run up to the podium. There is no debate. There's no question. The third guy on my board, so to speak, to kind of answer both questions here, is Evan Neal. And I know that, you have Mekhi Becton, you have George Fant, Morgan Moses kind of hanging in the wings. To me, I just don't think you can have enough trench play. And I think Evan Neal is elite. I think you can play him at left tackle. I think you can play him at guard. I think you can play him at right tackle. And I feel like having that kind of chess piece is invaluable in the trenches, and more options, the better. Okay, you have Mekhi Becton. We'll figure out what's going to happen with that situation, obviously. You've got George Fant, who's looked pretty darn good this year, and we'll have to keep an eye, thoughts and prayers, obviously, on the injury in Week 17. Right. That was a tough blow. And then if they're going to bring back Morgan Moses, it takes two to tango. I think he wants a starting job, so maybe there'll be some ruffled feathers there. But Evan Neal is there. And if he's not there, that's when you start getting spicy. That's when you start getting to Kyle Hamilton territory. That's when you start potentially thinking of trading back. I know there's a lot of George Karlaftis fans out there. For me, it's again, at this point, anything can change. It's January 6th when we're talking.
Right, of course.
But to get the third edge rusher out of the group, is that the best player on the board, or are you forcing a square peg in a round hole? There's a lot of time here for me to kind of sift through this. But the conversation is Kyle Hamilton. It's George Karlaftis. And like I said, if Neal or any of the pass rushers is there, I am running up to the podium without any second thought.
So before Frankie takes another shot, I want to follow up there. As far as you brought up a polarizing name, and we already talked about him a little bit, and the chat went both ways. I hate him, love him.
Yeah.
If you have the chance to take Kyle Hamilton, you're going to take him. How do you feel about taking another safety in the first round? Where do you stand with this whole debate?
It's funny. I will be doing this. Here's a shameless plug. Starting on this Monday and every Monday through the NFL draft, we'll be doing a mock draft Monday segment. Hopefully, I'll have both the Flatbush and Greenbean on those.
Hell yeah.
We're going to have a guest every single week from ESPN, NFL Network, all over the barnyard to give Jets insight for Jets draft talk. And each guest will be required at the end of the show to give some level of a mock draft, either the 2 first-round picks, a couple of the second-round picks. It'll be a lot of fun. So hopefully I can connect with you guys down the line on that. And one of my big questions is Kyle Hamilton. And the interesting thing here is when the Jets drafted Jamal Adams, right? He ends up being really good. And then all of a sudden their question was, well, man, can we pay a safety? And that bothers me, because if you're thinking that, like, oh, snap, we picked a guy and it worked, now we got to pay him. If you had those thoughts, then you probably shouldn't have taken a safety with the 6th overall pick then, probably, I would imagine. Because, if you're an NFL team, you should be somewhat optimistic that whoever you draft is going to be good. And then all of a sudden he was good, and they're like, crap, what do we do here? Now, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, for people that may have not seen Notre Dame football this year, Hamilton is a far different player than Jamal Adams. Certainly, just, bluntly, from a coverage perspective, he could do so many different things. He's a chess piece. My dad's been a diehard Notre Dame fan forever, so I've seen like every Notre Dame game for the last 20 years. I love Kyle Hamilton. It's a tough conversation. Right now, again, if that's how the board went, you had the 2 pass rushers. You had Thibodeau. You had Hutchinson, and then Evan Neal third, and then I was sitting there at 4. I would strongly consider taking Hamilton at this current moment. I think he's a different player. I think he's a chess player. I've heard people say luxury pick, picking a safety, 4th overall. Maybe there's trade back options. Maybe there's something else, but he is such a dynamic player, and I am a BPA kind of guy. And right now, at 4, he would be the best player available on the board.
It makes sense to me, Frankie. What do you think of that?
I love Hamilton, and we talked about this earlier in the show, and Boy Green wasn't here, and we were talking about what Hamilton allows you to do. So it's not just how great he is, which he's great. And again, he's a guy who's 6'4", but covers like a corner, hits like a linebacker, and plays like a safety. So it's like getting 3 players in one, which is a pretty nice Swiss Army knife on defense, if you can get it. But then he allows you to play single high safety and bring everybody else down and blitz the hell out of people, which we may have to do, especially if we can't get a Hutchinson and so forth. So yeah, it's a lot of what it is that it allows you to do when you draft this type of player onto your team. And so for me, I think this is a guy that we would love to have. And then, if we can get a pass rusher. Now, I also love Evan Neal. So I like the idea of an Evan Neal. It depends on what we're going to do with LDT. If we sign LDT, then I don't think we need an Evan Neal per se, really. Now, if we were to go get him, I wouldn't be mad. I think he's an elite guy. The guy I trust on offensive lineman is Brandon Thorne. I don't know if you know him, Boy Green.
Of course, yeah, he's a guru.
Yeah, on offensive lineman, and he has ranked Evan Neal, Linderbaum, and Ikem Ekwonu all pretty much exactly the same. So that's the grouping he has. Those are the three elite according to him. At least the last time I saw his ratings.
Yeah.
So you could trade back if you wanted to. If you got Hamilton and then trade your second pick back a little bit because you want Nakobe Dean or you want Ekwonu and you feel like he's going to be there or something like that. I would love to have a Hamilton and Nakobe Dean. Now you got some speed. Now you can cover some people. We have a lot of trouble covering people and also tackling people and also sometimes blocking people. And that's kind of why we've won 4 games, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll bounce it. Frankie, do you have a question for him? If not, I got one in the chat here.
No, I don't actually. I was looking in the chat as well. I couldn't find.
Yeah, it. I just lost mine, but I'm gonna say what it was because I remember it, and then I'll find it. But so forgive me, whoever wrote this. But do you see it as realistic that the Jets have any chance in hell of signing Davante Adams in free agency?
God, what a loaded question that is, huh? Here's the thing. You know what? We're in January, and this is dream season. Anything is possible. And quite frankly, if the Packers don't use the franchise tag, which I fully expect them to do, so, he won't make it there. But if he's out there, how can you not push all the chips in the middle of the table for the guy? And I get it. You may say the age, you may say the number, which, by the way, I think the current highest paid wide receiver in football right now is Hopkins with that $27 million, but that's kind of a weird number because of the uniqueness of his contract. But really, the plus number for those kind of receivers is 22 million, 23, 24, 25 per year. So, I mean, you're given a block of money. I don't think that's Joe Douglas's MO, so I don't think he would. But again, for fans to dream about it and think Zach Wilson chucking up passes to Davante Adams, why not dream the magical dream?
Right.
Why not?
Dream big.
Get a little out of it. Let's see what happens really in a couple of months. We'll have the franchise tag deadline around the combine, so you'll see kind of that window before free agency starts. So, we're going to know ahead of time. But right now, dream the dream, folks. Dream the dream, baby.
Yeah, that's funny, man. It's like, why not? Now, but like you said, chances are it's like last year, one of the more popular names was Godwin. And he was the guy, like, out of the receivers, if we had our way, he was the guy I wanted the Jets to go after the most, more than Galladay, more than Juju and the rest of them. But then they took him off the list because he was franchise tagged. And I think we're probably going to see that as well. You don't let a guy like that go if you can avoid it. But right now, why not? Now, as far as the other free agents, is there somebody that you're targeting, like, or maybe even if not a specific player, a position that you think the Jets should go after, and hopefully Joe Douglas is willing to open up the pocketbook? Like, where would you go, and what do you see the Jets doing with that?
Boy, I've got a million names. I got positions. I got players. I've got all kinds of circle. You can't see it. It's off screen. It's a marker board of, they need to get this.
That's right. Yeah. We all have that, Paul, right? Yeah. We all have one of those.
That's right. So I'll give you a couple of players here. First off, and this is in no particular order in terms of priority, but just players off the top of my head that I think would be great fits. One that I really love, and I was talking about it, I think maybe it was on the podcast this week, James Conner of Arizona. To me, the power back, goal line, short yardage, the yin to the yang, the Lendale White to the Chris Johnson, if people can remember back there, a little bit of that power game. And he's just so versatile, obviously. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I get the touchdown number is, again, an anomaly. That's a non-predictive stat that, again, it's somewhat lucky who gets the touchdowns and how he's gotten those. I think he's a phenomenal fit. I would love to see that. Tight end, something has to happen. I think you double dip probably both in free agency and the draft. I recently did an article for Heavy.com, and people all the tight end names that are out there, I mean, you could go from the top of the line from Dalton Schultz to Mike Gesicki if you want to dive in those waters. But the middle field of the kind of dart throw athletic guys like Evan Ingram, OJ Howard, off the top of my head. And again, I know some people feel polarizing about different guys. David Njoku is another one that I like a lot as well. So there's a variety of tight ends I'd be willing to throw a dart at. Robert Tonyan Jr., again, he's a kind of a touchdown-dependent guy from the past. That was kind of lucky. So I'm not sure how I feel about him. But those kind of tight ends, give me somebody from that group. I don't care. I mean, Ian Thomas from Carolina, pair whoever you pick, even if it's not top of the line, somewhere in that middle athletic. If I had to pick one, it's Njoku. I just love the athletic traits. And I'm this Chris Herndon closet fan. And, he's my
still
Chris Herndon. Yeah, so he can be, and Herndon's a free agent, by the way, so maybe we can bring him on back and try that trip again.
Let's not get crazy.
Hey, but we could do the trade for Jamal Adams back, and then we can go sign Chris. We already did it with Daniel Brown. There is precedent, guys.
There is. So, you could go in that direction. And here's the open conversation I'm having, and I'm struggling at corner because before the year I said, boy, the corner stink. I said it on your show, GreenBean, and people lit me up like a Christmas tree. That cornerback take, they all suck. We're going to get thrown all over the barnyard for. And then I was getting a lot of Paul, did you see this YouTube video recently where you were on a show and you were calling out the corner? So get some extra clicks there, GreenBean, a little bit later in the year.
That? There you go.
But the thing I'm struggling with is, do they need a number one corner? Because I feel like they do. I feel like Bryce Hall's really good. I think Brandon Eckel has proven himself as a rotational guy, and I like Michael Carter II, but it's missing that je ne sais quoi. It's missing that matchmaker. Like Sauce Gardner in the draft. He's a guy with that Seattle pick. You give me Sauce. I love that addition to the room. Or trade back a little and get Sauce. I'm very curious about that potentially for adding him to the mix. And then linebacker, man, give me somebody. Keanu Neal's back out there. Remember, he flirted with the Jets last year. Maybe you go Keanu Neal, Leighton Vander Esch. I don't know, someone there at linebacker. You need an off-ball linebacker. CJ Mosley's back and team MVP. That's great. And then Quincy's back at least in the sub-package role, but you need another linebacker there. I would love to see Keanu Neal plug in there how he was supposed to before the Cowboys stole him. So, again, so many names out there.
Yeah, I think Keanu Neal's a very interesting name, especially the history with Ulbrich. Honestly, I thought that was almost a foregone conclusion.
I did too.
Right? It was like, what? He went to Dallas? What the hell is that? Obviously a pretty decent move on his part. You can't blame him, and he's doing okay. But that would be interesting to see, him maybe come back. But, you mentioned CJ Mosley, and then I'm going to turn it over to Frankie. And let me do this first. Sorry, Morgan. I got an interesting super chat from Ms. Poet Joey Allen. Now, very, very nice name, and I appreciate sincerely the super chat, but there's no comment, Ms. Poet Joey Allen. So if you have one, throw it in there. I'll try to keep my eyes open for it, man. But since there's no question, I'm going to make one for you. And that is, did you see CJ Mosley's response to getting MVP? Now, he went out as far as to talk about why he came here and what he would like from other people if they come here. Number one, did you see it? Number two, what are your thoughts? Because I know you did.
I definitely did, and quite frankly, I was ready to run through a brick wall for the guy. Quite frankly, and Saleh mentioned it in the press conference before we even found out that Mosley was team MVP earlier in the week. That Mosley doesn't speak often, but when he speaks, it's kind of the big stick and being quiet and that old line. And for me, CJ Mosley. Again, he was marred because it was that one free agent that, classic, didn't work out. Injury immediately, showed a little flash, never get to see it. Second year opt-out, another classic Jets bust. Trumaine Johnson's all this and that, and CJ Mosley's that guy. And now he's on pace to be behind only Jonathan Vilma, who had that ridiculous 173 tackle season way back in the day. He's right there. And to think that he's been able to play this elite level is unbelievable, quite frankly. So really, in terms of, answering the question and who he wants to see, and if you're afraid of losing and those kind of things, don't show up, and you just kind of call them out. I'm like, yeah, baby. The blood was pumping through my veins. That was cool to see. And that again, that CJ Mosley, for those who don't know, is kind of a conservative guy, kind of minds his own business, doesn't really, he lets his play do the talking for him. That he's going to be willing to do some recruiting for the Jets, I think, is massive because he's widely respected around the league. People get, when CJ Mosley talks, people listen. And I think that's going to be huge for the Jets, quite frankly. It's not the same as Jamal Adams, loudmouth, saying, hey, come here to the Jets. CJ Mosley saying, hey, come here to the Jets. I may take the quiet approach. I'm not sure. But I love Mosley, man. He's been fantastic and love him to death. And obviously he'll be back next year with the contract. So and for good reason. Quite frankly, he's earned it. He's a very good player.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, like he doesn't talk often. He's not a talker. So when he does talk, it's important. You listen. People are inclined to listen. And it is very different than a Jamal Adams just blah, 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 blah. And then it's like it loses any oomph. He's just constant chatter. Shut up. All right. We get it. Tremaine Johnson was similar. But then you got CJ Mosley saying, hey, I came here because I wanted to be a part of changing something. I wanted to do that job. If you want a part of that greatness, then come here. If you're afraid of losing, don't come. Dude, I swear, just like you, I wanted to run through something. I stood up when I read it. I stood up. Like, why am I standing? Like reading it. Why are you standing? I don't know. Like, I felt it. And it's like, that's the thing. Now that we do have a quarterback, now that we've kind of come through the gauntlet, we're looking a little bit settled down. Sure, it's, we're nowhere near out of the woods, but it does seem like, okay, maybe things are starting to click a little bit. Maybe if things are making sense, maybe CJ Mosley's words can impact somebody who's considering it on the fence. And maybe that we can start getting some higher caliber guys that aren't afraid to be a part of something and try to turn it around as opposed to complaining when things go poorly. You know what I mean?
I will say it was refreshing. The point that you brought up is one of my favorite points of it all. Why'd you come to the Jets? They suck. Ravens really good. Great organization. Why'd you come? He said, I want to be a part of change. I didn't just want to go to a place. He didn't say New England by name, but, go to a place that's just really good. I join and they go from really good to great. Like, I want to go from a trash place, a place that has lost a lot, and reverse the narrative. And to me, again, that is so refreshing. So refreshing.
Yeah. So, Frankie, what do you got, buddy?
So we got a question from Dan Mozzarella. How about a little mozzarella for Danny Mozzarella? He says, out of all the Jets free agents, both UFA and RFA, there you go, that would be unrestricted and I believe restricted free agents. There's all kinds of free agents we got. Some are restricted, some are not. Which ones are you pushing to resign?
Excellent question. I got to go with a little double B in the morning. Give me a little Braxton Berrios. Who would have thought a year ago I was on this take? But quite frankly, he's developed a role. He's developed a niche in this offense. Quite frankly, he's kind of taken the torch from Jamison Crowder because Jamison was so valuable because of the trick play ability, his ability to just kind of create movement, create separation from the opposing corner. And when Jamison has been out, you have an opportunity for someone else to step up, and that has been Braxton, making big-time plays, great chemistry with Zach Wilson. What's that number? That's interesting. Some people have brought up the Kendrick Bourne contract of New England. That's around $5.5 million. He had a 3-year, $15 million deal. Is that the number for Braxton? I think the longer you wait, the higher that number goes. Does it get out of their price range? Again, Joe Douglas is a guy that likes drawing a line in the sand, but he's a guy I'd like to bring back. He is a glue guy. And I think Jake Asman is the one who brought it up on Twitter, so I'll give him credit. When we lost Jericho Cotchery, again, and Braxton Berrios are not the same player. So I saw people yelling at him about that. That's not the point. The point is the glue guy, the guy that was the ultimate professional. He was the guy that was in the locker room, and when the emotional roller coaster was going on, he was steady Eddie there in the middle. That's what I think Braxton can be for this team. And quite frankly, I don't think you want to lose glue guys like that. And if you have to cough up a little bit more than intended, we're not talking about $50 million here. I think it's worth bringing him in. So Braxton's at the top of my list. And then the offensive tackle thing is musical chairs. I love Morgan Moses and similar. When he's been speaking in press conferences, he was kind of talking about we need to change the narrative for the Jets for years. And I kind of picked up on that saying, you're only here for this year. Or is there something that I don't, Morgan? He said a very interesting comment at his last availability this week. So Morgan is a guy I'd like to bring back. But again, what's the Jets' thoughts on Mekhi Becton, on George Fant? And then maybe Morgan Moses, and then you have Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who's another one. Like, how do they view the offensive line room? However they view it, I'm for, because I'd love to bring Laurent back. His tape has been nasty over the last couple of weeks, so props to him. Those are guys off the top of my head that I think would be of great interest, and one that I think is a great player. Great loosely. He's a really good player, and I like what he brings to the locker room. I think he's just going to be too rich. Is Foley Fatukasi. I'm hearing that he's going to get somewhere in the $7.5 to $8.5 million per year. And it brings me back to the Damon Sachs-Harrison conversation of a bunch of years ago where the Jets were like, man, we could use the run stuffing, but the stats, how do we convince ourselves that the money we're pouring in works? I think they're going to fall in that same trap again and say, we can't pay Foley this kind of money. We can replace the fat run stuffing nose guy to kind of simplify his role. They think they could probably get that from somebody else. And that's disappointing because I think he's a fun player and he's a good leader in the locker room. But I think they're going to lose him because the money's going to get too crazy.
Yeah, especially when they have guys like Kyle Phillips. They used a 6 on Jonathan Marshall, albeit a different skill set. I think you're right. I think like they're not going to pour endless money into the defensive line, especially as you creep into the interior. I don't know how many layers deep they're going to pay. And I think it's sadly because he was one of McCagnon's good picks. I think he was a 6th round pick.
He was right.
Right. It's so rare, Yeah. But Jets Forever chimes in and he just says 2 words, man. And I know this is a question for you. Eddie Pinheiro. What do you got, Boy Green?
I will say this. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here because Pinheiro has been really solid. But the thing that I fear with Pinheiro is the incredibly small sample size. Now, if it's not crazy money, which I would venture to say it probably isn't for Pinheiro, you bring him back and you cross your fingers and hope you have your guy because they've had it a couple of times in history. They had Nick Folk for a long time. They had Jason Myers for 1 year. And you could just hope that you found lightning in a bottle here in Pinheiro, who hadn't played in a year plus because of a groin injury and then kind of gets an opportunity here. But there's going to be Younghoe Koo, who could be a free agent of the Falcons, who has a longer sample size of success that I would be intrigued in if he reaches the unrestricted free agent market. So Pinheiro, again, he's been a very pleasant surprise. The fact that they haven't been able to find any consistency at kicker is embarrassing. So, Pinheiro deserves a tip of the cap. And if they bring him back, I'm not going to be mad about it. The thing that scares me, though, is the incredibly limited sample size. He's just a young buck. Okay, he's green. He's in, there just isn't enough there. There's not enough hair on the back of his neck. So that scares me a little bit.
Wait, I have a question here. I have a kicker question. Let's stay on the kickers for 1 second. We need to solve a mystery. Excellent. There's a mystery going on in the NFL. And that is there's a guy on Tampa Bay's practice squad. His name people may know. His name is Jose Borregales. And he's been stashed on their practice squad for the whole year. And nobody, and many teams have needed a kicker, including us, picked him up. Do you have any idea, Boy Green, why that is? What's wrong with Mr. Borregales? Do we know?
It's funny. It's a phenomenal question. It's a question fans have been asking me all year long. Paul, Jets have kicker issues. This guy's hanging out there. You can steal from practice squad. While they have practice squad protections on a weekly basis, there is still a window that no matter what, unless they bring that player up to their active roster, you can steal if you want to. So the Jets and every other team had that same opportunity all year long. Again, there's practice squad protection. But how it works in the week, if you really want a guy, Elijah Riley is a good example, you can get that guy. And they could have with Borregales. To be honest, I have gotten no straight answer. I've talked to Bucks people down there. They're like, we love having him down here. I'm like, yeah, great. Well, why is no one else wanting him? It's like the draft day. Yeah. I'm a big draft day guy. They're like, what's wrong with him? Why is he slipping? What's going on here? Everyone's looking at each other in the room. I've not gotten a straight answer on that, so I wish I could give a better answer. I've got no idea. I've continued to look into it. No one says anything. Maybe what we all see and we think he's going to be spectacular. Maybe the NFL doesn't. Maybe there's something we don't know, and obviously there must be.
And what a great question, Frankie, because we have been tossing that one around as you have all year. Like you said, like when our kicker started faltering, it almost seemed too good to be true. The number one kicker in the country is sitting there for free. You don't have to use a draft pick. You don't have to take no chance. Just get him. Just go get him.
We brought in Kessman. We brought in Alex Kessman. who has a 72% for his career at college. Now he goes, I knew of him because he played at Pitt. I'm here in Pittsburgh. I'm in exile.
okay.
I don't know if you knew that, Paul.
Yes.
But I'm in exile. So he's right here. He's down the block. I know Alex Kessman, and he's no good. And the thing that people in Pitt said, they should make him do extra points from 50 yards out because he's good at he's good at 50 plus, but everything else he can't hit it. And we bring him in even before we bring in Pinheiro for some reason. I don't understand that. And before we bring in Borgalis, what? Why? That makes no sense.
It's a weird one. Isn't it weird, Paul? I thought for a second when Frankie asked that question, I thought you were the guy. I was like, oh, shit, we're going to get an answer. Oh, my God.
This is the biggest mystery in the NFL.
Yeah. The mystery continues. X-Files themes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question from Submission 72, and he says, do you guys think Quinnen pulls a Jamal on year 3? Well, it is year 3. I think he means tries to kind of maybe threaten, hold out for the money and all that kind of stuff. Causes a problem.
No. Quinnen's
you don't think so, Frankie?
Quinnen's a good dude. What are you talking about? Quinnen's
he's
a good boy.
Good dude.
As GreenBean has said multiple times, Quinnen's a good boy.
He is a good boy. Paul, how do you see the Quinnen Williams thing going? Do you think, all right, if he's not going to squawk and all that, do you think he's going to get re-signed? Do you think they're going to draw a hard line? Do you think he's earned the extension? Where do you think we are with Quinnen?
I feel like it is decision time this offseason. He will be eligible based on the CBA. He'll be eligible for a contract extension for the first time in his career this offseason. And Quinnen, I know him and his wonderful agent, Nicole Lynn, will be looking for the bag. And that bag and the running number for defensive tackles in his department of analytics and all the numbers he's been able to provide is $20+ million a year.
Sheesh.
Are the Jets willing to cough up Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, that kind of money for Quinnen Williams? Some argue maybe if they sign him right now this offseason when he's first eligible, you could get him for a discount. To me, it makes it a complicated scenario because Quinnen Williams, I think, has been a very good player. Has he been elite? No, not enough. Not consistently enough. He hasn't been. So you're battling, okay, what do I pay this guy? Do I pay this guy? And on the other side, wow, historically, we haven't paid guys. John Abraham, all these guys, Jamal Adams, whoever. And there's been obviously other scenarios that have factored into a lot of these different situations. John Abraham had some off-the-field issues. Jamal Adams went nuclear. So we've had reasons for these that we've explained to ourselves. But still, the track record is the track record. When the Jets have had to pay the piper, historically, they've been like, we'll trade the guy. And then we'll do this dance again. They have to make that decision with Quinnen. And I feel like what's going to happen here, and although Joe Douglas has no part in the prior history with the team, I think it is important to sign Quinnen Williams for the rest of the team to say, hey, look, he's a good boy, as apparently GreenBean says. He's a good boy. Let's reward good boy and give him a nice contract extension. And here's the poster child for if you perform here, you're going to get paid. So you're battling the history of what it means for the organization now and for the future. And then the narrative on the other side, if you ditch him, people are going to say, whether fair or not, well, Marcus May, Jamal Adams, all these guys you're letting walk out the door in theory. Marcus May, again, is a pending free agent. That you let all your best players in theory walk out the door and you're not paying them. What's the plan here? What's going on? Especially since Saleh talked him up. So it's a complicated scenario. Are you willing to pay him the money? If they could get him for a discount, not that $20+ million a year on a crazy deal, I would sign him right now this offseason at first opportunity. I think it would provide you financial flexibility into the future, especially because you would just add on to the years. It's not like you'd shred up the rookie contract that's left. So you could really create a lot of flexibility moving forward. If you could get him for a deal, I do it now. If he's commanding or asking for $20+ million, I'm like, kick the can down next year and then we'll talk about it. But that's a conversation.
Yeah, and look, man, Leo got 21. Well, sorry, Frankie, hold that thought. But Leo Williams got 21. So
yes,
there it is.
Do you think that his performance dipping this year had anything to do with missing all of training camp in the preseason with that foot injury? That's what I sneakily think. But I'm not. No one's talking about it. No one's sure because his play, he hasn't been elite. He hasn't been dominant, and we expect him to be dominant, and he hasn't been. He's been kind of good, and it's like, okay, but you're not supposed to be good, Quinnen. You're supposed to be dominant. So, do you think that has anything to do with why his play has just been sort of good to above average this year?
I would say no. I think there are two things, though, that are contributing to it. First off, I think not having Carl Lawson, and again, you can say, well, if you're the superstar that Aaron Donald is the name, that's unfair, but that's the position. But okay, Aaron Donald sometimes does everybody blows through double teams and still shows the wow play. But he didn't have Carl Lawson. If he has Carl Lawson, the Batman to his Robin, what kind of year does Quinnen have? He had a very solid year so far this year, and he should be coming back for the Buffalo game. So 6.5, 7 sacks, whatever that ended up being for Quinnen, and will be for Quinnen. That's a very solid year. But with Carl Lawson, I imagine those numbers are going to jump to another level. And the other thing is playing time. Salah says, and this is what he preaches, that he doesn't want any of his defensive linemen, from Quinnen Williams to John Franco Myers to the boob off the bench. I don't want anyone playing more than 60, 65% of the snaps, and keeps everyone fresh. But at the same time, you're like, okay, so you're paying him $20 million to be a part-time player? I get what you're telling me about health and everything, but look at Aaron Donald, look at all these other guys. Look at their snap percentages compared to Quinnen, and they're making plays. So we're getting the best version of Quinnen in theory if we're only getting him for 60% of the time, but we're still not seeing the pop plays. That to me is concerning. The injury, no. I think they worked him correctly in the offseason of slowly progressing him through the preseason and in terms of the practices for the preseason, getting him ready for the year. I think they did the proper thing of working him back, and I don't think that was a big factor. I think there was a little bit at the beginning of the year, sure, with rust and not getting that proper time. Maybe it took him a little while to kind of fully find himself, but at this point in the season or the middle part of the season, I know he's been dealing with the shoulder. No, I don't think that's been a tremendous impact on why we haven't seen the wow Quinnen Williams. I think that's more so on not having Carl Lawson and Vinny Curry and all these other guys you're supposed to have with him to help, and the snap percentage, which I think is weird. I think when you don't put your best player on the field for as much as possible, I think you're losing a little bit on that side.
Well, if that's the case, then I'd say we do sign him and try to get a discount and just say, listen, he doesn't have the numbers to get 20 plus mil. Maybe we can get him for 16, 17, something like that. And that way, and we get him now. Because if you wait, because the question is, do you wait? And then next year, if he puts up 10 plus sacks or something like that, guess what? You're not getting him for that. So it was almost like, if that's the way we feel, because those guys are going to come back, we're going to add more to defense, and then maybe we will see the real Quinnen. And if we have him signed long term, we could, it could be a deal for us.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing because you don't want to pay someone prematurely who's, look, you could say has disappointed, right? You could say,
he's a number 3 pick. Yes.
Right. He's a number 3 overall pick. Now, when you look at the scenario like Ant Jets is saying on the screen right now, 24 years old, 15.5 sacks on the worst team in the league for 3 years, it's not terrible either. So, you look at the scenario and everything going on around him, and it definitely hasn't been a failure, but does he command $21 million a year like Leo Williams, who we traded for a 3rd and a 5th? Leo waited till that contract year and blew it up, had a whole mess of sacks, and then they paid him $21 million. He settled right back into mediocre, maybe above that average. Leo's a good player, but he's not, but he settled right back into his niche, and that's what we want to avoid. The good news is I think Joe Douglas is at least thinking about this. He's not feeling the pressure like a lot of our previous GMs have, fan or media, and they just, they want to keep the big name around. Or, if McCagnon was still here, we would have given Jamal $20 million. Sam would have got his extension, and we'd be paying him $35 million a year. May would have been extended already. You know what I mean? Or it. Like, we know there's not even a question. Bell would still be here. The whole thing. It'd be a fucking shit show. So, all right, look, we have a few minutes left. Now, what we're going to do, Paul, we're going to end the show with some Jets trivia. But before we do that, I want to make sure, and I'm real curious. I don't know the question either. So we're going to throw it to the chat as well. But I'm really curious to see if you can answer it. And I'm sure you'll be able to because you're quite the historian. But before we do that, I want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know where they can find you and what you have going on. If there's an event or anything you got that you want us to know about, now is the time.
Wow, this beautiful, this moment in the sun. They're just, I feel like signing, babies, kissing autographs, all that kind of action. Guys, of course, so you can follow me at BoyGreen25 everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the biggest thing is YouTube, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, feel free to hit the subscribe button, hop over there. I'd really appreciate it. And every Monday, every Monday starting this upcoming Monday, which will be the first Monday after the season, all the way through the draft, every single week, we will have a different draft expert on. And some of the ones we've had in the past, Charles Davis of the NFL Network. I mean, we've had people from ESPN, NFL Network, Draft Network, so many great places, and all my fellow content creators on the Jets networks from GreenBean, Frankie. We're going to have them all on, and we're going to get their takes. We're going to talk about the latest draft buzz because, again, there's the Combine, the Senior Bowl, the Pro Days, the draft. There's so much action that'll be happening. I want to hear opinions from everybody. We'll share our own. We'll get expert opinions, and every time, whoever that person is will give us their mock draft, so a different take and their chance in the sun that GreenBean's giving me right now to give their pitch for who the Jets should draft, and they can hold that on. They can hold on to that if the Jets don't listen to them. You guys should have listened to me. Or the other side, if it worked out, don't watch this. You did it right. Those mock draft Mondays are going to be a lot of fun starting this Monday through the draft.
What time is that, Paul?
That time will be any time. So here's the thing to do. Hit that little bell on old YouTube, and when those videos pop in, you will be getting them. We're going to try to do a nice mix combination to keep you on your toes. We'll be doing both pre-recorded conversations with draft people and live conversations. We'll have live streams just like this and engagements with fans to get it in. So just mark the entire day of Monday. Just book the 24 hours. Just every Monday from this Monday through the draft, just take it off from work and just be ready at any time.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. This is new for me. I'm like schedule oriented. I like it. It's uncomfortable. It's fresh. It feels raw. I like that. I like it. So I look forward to it.
We're going to have to book GreenBean. It sounds like a couple years in advance to get him on one of these. We'll see what we can do.
At least 6 weeks. So yeah, maybe if I am fortunate enough to do the show, we could do it like 5 a.m. Let's do a 5 a.m. and just wake everybody on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? 5 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yes, I love it.
So awesome, guys. Don't forget, man, I do it all the time. Boy Green, Paul Esden is literally the first ever Jets podcast that I listened to. And in large part was my inspiration for being here. I couldn't think more highly of you, Paul. I'm grateful that you carved out some time to be here with Frankie and myself. And guys, don't forget, support him in any way that you can. It's the real deal. It's the legit content, man. He's not playing games. He's as good as they come. So we're going to bring Wat2K99 back on, the president of the Virginia Jets fan club down there in AJ Gators in Norfolk, Virginia. We're going to bring him back on. And this is a little taste of what goes on down there at the Virginia Jets fan club. They do Jets trivia. So Wat2K, we're excited. We're anxiously awaiting this trivia question. What do you have for us?
Yeah, we actually did the trivia. We do it 3 times a year. And this past one, basically I asked 10 questions, 3 different contestants. Each contestant gets 3 questions. Then we have a tiebreaker. And of the 10 questions I asked, and they're multiple choice, they only got 2 right. So I guess I was making a little bit too hard on them to finish off the season. But like one of the questions was, where was the city where the Jets won their only Super Bowl? I said Miami or LA, and the guy said LA. I'm like,
come on. No, Paul, you can bring the heat, Wat2K. We're a different bunch. We're a different tier.
This is a smart group right here. I know
the damn we know the stadium they were in. You know what I mean? Come on.
Orange Bowl. We know that.
I know the street it was on. I've been to the Orange Bowl specifically to stare at the building where Joe Namath did this. I've done it.
That's great.
Did you lay by the pool where he apparently made or go to the Miami Touchdown Club where he made the guarantee? Did you do that too?
No, but I have been in the hotel where the Beatles have been. But I went there because they were tearing the Orange Bowl down when I first moved to Miami. So I panicked and I went right over there like a week before they tore it down, and I stared at it. I sucked it in. Now it lives. All right,
maybe that's the true curse. I think that's the true Jet curse and GreenBean curse.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is right there, Frankie. See? Little did I know. All right, Wat2K, what do you got for us? Bring the heat, buddy.
Okay, here's the question. In the history of the Jets, so going back to 1960, how many first-round quarterbacks have the Jets drafted in their history, and can you name all 8? Damn it!
All
I
right.
just gave you the answer.
Well, you just gave us.
Yeah,
I'd say there's
Can
8
you
of
name
them.
all 8? Can you name all 8 of them?
Well, here's the funny
Eight.
thing again. I said bring the heat, and I swear to you, I didn't hear a word you said except the number 8. I don't know how it happened. What was the question?
Okay, we're just gonna redo it. It's fine. So the Jets have drafted 8 quarterbacks in the first round in their history. Can you name all 8?
Oh, okay. All right. So let's bounce it to the chat real quick, guys. Throw your answers in there.
Without looking
Paul,
it up,
do you?
obviously, because you could look this up if you wanted to. So.
Well, right. Well, they're gonna have to answer quick. You know, this 20-minute thing. We're not doing that. Paul, you want to give us a little list of our first round quarterbacks?
Sure. Let's bang out a couple of the softies here. So Zach Wilson, ba-ding. Let's get that. Sam Darnold, ba-ding. Okay. Mark Sanchez, ba-ding. Okay. Let's get a couple of those easy ones out of the way. Let's go back to a little bit of the AFL love. Let's go Joe Namath. Let's jump all the way back to the other side. So let's ba-ding. A little Joe Namath. Okay. Ken O'Brien. How about one of those? Pow! Right at the ballpark. Okay, let's go there. What are we at right now, GreenBean?
That's 5.
Oh my God. Okay,
3 more.
Come on, Paul. Let's see.
Oh, come on, man! You got to get the goat, the real goat.
Boy, let's see.
Yeah, the goatiest goat.
Come on, you can't disrespect my guy like this. You can't do this.
Let's see. Let's see.
1189 Paris said a couple. I think 1 or 2 other people.
Yeah, I see it.
I see him in the chat. But there's one guy. That
oh my God, I'm an idiot. Yeah. Come on. Let's go. We are Marshall. How can we not get Chad?
That's right. There's
go.
our boy.
My guy.
Overall pick in the 2000 NFL draft. How did I forget that? Clink. Let's get old Chad Pennington that one. Let's see.
So that's 7, right? Was that 7?
And what do we have? 6.
You said Wilson, Darnold, Sanchez, Pennington, O'Brien, and Namath. There's 2 more. And there's a name here that people are throwing out. I could tell you it is not correct. I'm not going to give it away, but there's one name that people think was a first-round pick, but was a second-round pick.
Yeah, everybody's yelling Nagel. Nagel was a 2nd-round pick.
Second-round pick.
Oh, wait. Wasn't Richard Todd? Isn't
Yeah,
that's 7.
He is.
Oh, my God. What's the
Can
last
you name
one?
the 8th? I haven't seen anybody mention it. I'm going back through the chat.
Okay.
I have not seen anybody name this one other player.
Oh, my God.
Remember how I worded the question?
Wait,
say it again, man. Oh, we got a trick here, Frankie.
Franchise going back to 1960.
Oh, so this could be New York Titans from 60 to 60.
This is Titans. Oh, I don't know that guy.
Told you it was going to be in the heat.
Somebody's saying Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason, we acquired in free agency.
Yeah, right. From the Bengals.
He wasn't even a
first year of free agency.
He was a second-round pick.
Yeah. Titans, New York Titans. Come on, man.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Nah, I guess I'll. Man, what a loser I am. I got a New York Titans shirt in the closet too. Come on, man.
Wait, so Donald Schaefer says Woodall. Is that a real person?
He's thinking of Al Woodall, but that is not the correct answer. But it's a good try.
Okay, good. Babe Perilli.
Babe Perilli is another one. He was a Patriot before he was a Jet, I believe, before he was named as backup.
That's right.
Not him.
All right, so hey man, you were able to stump us. This is real. All right, we had all the Jets. We're digging into, Sonny Werblin territory here. So what do we got? Give it to us, Watson.
1962, Sandy Stevens.
Sandy Stevens. I got that jersey. What am I talking about? Damn it!
Wait, so tell me, how'd he do?
The fact that almost nobody knows his name, that tells you all you need to know.
What was his QBR?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Did they calculate that on a sundial? What was happening back?
Frankly, his DVOA was in the toilet. I'm telling you.
What type of field did he play on? That's the key.
Yeah, wait. He played in the mud. That's all he did. Played in the mud, and he never got hurt.
Field turf.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right. Well, listen, that was awesome, man. I didn't think you were going to be able to stump us. No, I didn't. I really didn't. With us 3 and the chat, I'm like, there's just no way. And you did, man. The chat was they were throwing more shit to the wall and nothing stuck. So you got us, Watu. I will say it's pretty safe. If you go pre-Namath, I haven't done my homework, Paul. I mean, that's going to be, I'm sorry to say it.
Shame.
Right. So, well, listen, that was good, man. That was good. So, chat, thanks for your guesses. Frankie, why don't you let everybody know what you got cooking?
Well, Frankie from Flatbush Channel. We do live shows on Sunday morning, 11:30. This week is a weird one. They flexed our game from 1 o'clock to 4:25. So,
yeah,
I guess they did that for playoff implications for other teams, not for us. And so we're playing at 4:25, but I'll still do a live show at 11:30, Coffee with Frankie, and talk about any transactions we're doing, who's active, who's inactive, who got the COVID, who doesn't got the COVID, all that stuff. We'll talk about it. And then we'll come back at 7. And the thing is, the game may still be on at 7 p.m. when we come on this time. So I may have to do a little narration of the game if anybody's interested in that. And so we do that. And, we got our DVOA video that comes out during the week. We got our PFF video that comes out, the What Happened video with the Frankie stats. Those are the main videos we do on the channel.
All right. Well, very good. Frankie from Flatbush on YouTube. Don't forget about our boy in the background, Mr. Jeremy Cravat, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. 10 more subscribers or whatever it is. He's going to pour hot sauce all down his pants. He's changed it. That's his new plan. 7 more subscribers, and we're going to see him cover himself in hot sauce. All right. This is going to be great. He's going to have a teaspoon of what he says is the hottest hot sauce west of the Mississippi or something like that. So he's going to do that. So if you haven't subbed to NFL Chaos with Jeremy, please sub already so we can see him torture himself. What's better than this? Yeah. So, of course, Watsuke is the president of the Virginia Jets fan club. One of the better Jets fan clubs I've been to, and I've been to a few, guys. So don't forget, you can check him out down there, and they're on Facebook. And I want to show everybody before we leave one last time for tonight. This is just for your enjoyment. There it is, everybody. Frankie's
playing that. You're just playing that because it took you so long to make it.
Damn right.
Trying to get your money's worth.
It's too short. It should be an hour. I should make everybody have to watch it. But guys in the chat, thank you all for being here. This was a great show. It flew by for me. I don't know, man. But Paul, thank you for being here, man. One of just my absolute favorites. Boy Green, Paul Esden from the Jet Zone, everybody. Follow him and support him wherever you can. He deserves it, and you won't be sorry. That all said, have a great night, everybody. We will see you some other time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here go the Jets, baby.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.